surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Yeah, hi. Good morning. It's a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Drew. And
Who is that? Duncan Sheik?
Yes, that's exactly. He's been looking for work, and we were able to find him. It's the long-awaited.
Who is
follow-up,
that?
Barely. We talked about it last week.
Oh, we did.
Is that what you have?
Who is it?
It's our friend Chris Harrington.
Oh, right.
Who inexplicably.
No, he's actually Chris is a good man. He sounds like Duncan Sheik.
Go ahead.
Better than Duncan Sheik.
No, the thing.
Nah, I don't do that anymore. New material.
When? When did that start?
New material. Look at the trees are blooming here. It's
Yeah.
a lot like our offense.
Yeah. Life is good. Life is good.
All right, so we're in a little bit of a hitting slump.
Yeah. At least they've got everything else going for them. Drew's here. Yeah, it's.
You're not going to win games when when Kremer gives up 11 hits and 5 runs. How we winning? How we beating anybody?
I love the fact they put him back out there.
Oh.
Like, you know what, man?
I said the same thing
Just-
to my friend Chris, who always texts me during the games because he hates the team but loves them like us. He's like, oh, they're not putting this turd back out there, are they? I said, 100%.
Like,
They're looking for the Major League record for most extra base hits allowed in one hour. Yeah, he was like, they're not putting this turd. I got to look what he said. He goes, what did he say? He said, for the love of God, they're not putting this turd back out there for the next inning, are they?
No, they definitely were. And really, at this point, why not just?
Yeah. Hey, go get them. We need 7 out of you
We're
tonight.
going to get 1 hit tonight.
Right.
You're throwing 150 pitches. If your arm falls off, we're in no worse shape than we were going into the game.
And to be honest, we're kind of hoping it might fall off, actually. That would put us out of our misery.
Right.
Oh, man.
But
Cedric Mullins got on base 3 times.
He did. He's their player. He's the one.
He's the MVP right now. For sure.
Our friend Steve Johnson likes to. But he, for some reason, gets worked up whenever anybody starts screaming about guys getting extensions. He's like, "Tell me who deserves an extension." It's just a bit that we do. Last night he sent me a text. He said, "So when are we giving out those extensions?" I said, "Mullins and Laureano, baby."
Right. Extend Ramon.
Get him done this moment.
Right.
Buck Showalter will join us a little bit later on. Kevin Frandsen, MLB Network Radio. He's also the Nationals Color Analyst. He'll join us as well. So we'll talk about it.
Big night tonight down there in D.C.
Sure.
Big.
If you say so.
Caps.
I know. You're
Oh.
very excited about that.
I wasn't excited the other night when they went to overtime. I was like, don't tell me we're going
Why,
to
did you bet him?
throw this.
Did you bet him to win in regulation?
No, but I tell you what I did bet pissed me off. Luke Dubois, Caulfield, Ovechkin to score.
Okay.
The first 2 took care of it. Luke Dubois, not so much. So that one hurt me. But I had a nice one last night.
Sure.
And if Mike Trout would get a base hit, I wouldn't even be here this morning.
I thought he was good at baseball.
Oh, my
What
gosh.
happened there?
All he does is hit home runs. He's batting like 200.
Oh.
He's batting. No, he isn't. He's batting 174.
Oh, okay.
And all I needed last night from him, I had a 5-way 2.
I mean,
Yeah, right. Well, I mean,
I've been to college too.
right. I had a 5-way 2. What do you call it? 2 bases, right? What was it?
Two total bags. Two total bases.
2 total bases. 2 plus total bases on 5 guys, or 1.5. So I needed 2.
Problem is we just can't afford 5 guys.
On 5 guys, right? Nobody can. And the 4 of them hit, and this turd, all he's got to do is just get a double. Just hit me a double, and I think it was 10 for 4.
Did you pick an Oriole? Because
It was like 10 for 490. I put $10 in to win 490. All I need is this turd to get a double for me,
Right.
Trout.
Right.
And by the way, this was the worst part. The 3 of the first 4, it happened in their first at bat. Garcia, Ward from the Angels hit a home run right away in the game.
Why are you putting bets in on Taylor Ward?
I don't know if you noticed.
Well,
You need to visit MD Gambling.
Brian Reynolds.
He's like their only player that gets hit. That gets
Fine.
That
I
gets
just
hit, so.
I fear that we might need to get you in the voluntary exclusion program.
I bet you don't. I bet you 4-1 I won't go.
I know that. I know that.
Anyway, so thanks a lot, Mike Trout. I
All
hope
right.
all of Middlesboro, New Jersey, has a. Is that where he is? No, Morristown, New Jersey.
If you say so.
I thought he was from
If you
Philly.
say so.
Huh?
thought he was-
Morristown, New Jersey.
That's basically.
Okay. So he's a Jersey guy.
Yes,
But
that's
look
the
it up.
point.
I'm right on this. Look it up.
Nobody is concerned about this topic.
I am.
Right. That makes
I'm a
one.
perfectionist.
Yeah, I
Vineland.
know. Yeah.
Vineland. New
That's
Jersey.
Morristown.
You're a perfectionist.
Correct.
When did that start?
I don't know, 60-some years ago
Yeah.
when I first learned how to walk.
Sure.
He grew up in Millville, New Jersey.
There you go. Perfect. Told you.
That's why Drew always arduously prepared the old radio show. The night before, he'd lay out
The name of the show was
meticulously.
called Off the Cuff.
That's. I don't believe that's what it was called. Walked in at 6:43. All right, you got anything?
5:43.
Yeah. We didn't know you never were there. You think you were ever there at 5:43?
Sure. The show went on at 6.
Yes. And
I
you
was there way before you most times.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You should start. You better rethink how all that went down.
I'm not pretending like I was there early, but neither were you. Walking into the middle of.
It was early. I got to get my coffee.
I know.
There's like this full crowd scene at the food line.
All right. All right.
Have you gotten over the Masters thing yet?
No,
or
I don't. We're not talking anymore about the Masters. We're talking about the Orioles. They're a disaster. That's
Who
what
are the
we're
Ravens
discussing.
picking tomorrow night?
I don't know.
Peter Schrager dropped his mock.
Yeah, I
And?
saw that. He had them going with a
Josh Simmons.
Yeah.
Well, Will Johnson's on the board though. Like with that, would that?
I don't know. I have no idea. I
I think they're taking one of those 2 kids from Georgia.
Michael Williams or
Malachi Starks.
Yeah, well, I'd like Starks.
I think
Well, there's
Starks.
a
I think they're
linebacker.
going to take. I think Starks. He'll fall to them just like all the rest of these people fall to them mysteriously. Starks will be sitting there, and Eric will be like,
I don't think Starks is falling. I think at this point that's where you would be picking Starks. I don't think that's
Okay.
That's a fall for Malachi Starks.
Okay.
But I absolutely think they could take him 100%. I think now a fall.
Doesn't
would
it seem
be-
like the draft has? Is it me or has the draft lost its luster from 5 or 10 years ago? Doesn't it feel different?
No,
It doesn't?
It feels
I think so.
differently here for 2 reasons.
Okay,
It feels differently.
so it does
here-
feel different.
here, like in Baltimore. In Baltimore.
Isn't that what I asked him?
No. When you're saying the draft has lost its luster, it absolutely has not.
Okay.
In Baltimore, it has been lesser because the Ravens have been picking at the back end of the first round every year. It is really hard to get amped up about the draft. When you say who are the
So
Ravens
it's
taking,
lost its luster.
yeah, you're doing a different thing. There's less interest
Am I?
here.
I don't know.
The
He's in a
draft.
weird
No.
mood today. He's in a weird
the
mood.
draft has not lost its luster.
Okay.
The draft is badass business. Here,
Well, let me ask you
we're
this
less
question.
interested.
Between Dawn Wells and Tina Louise,
Ooh.
when they were
Uh-huh.
at their zenith on
Ooh,
Gilligan's Island,
God.
which one did you prefer?
I was a Marianne.
You were Marianne.
Yeah, I
A
was
lot of guys were.
Marianne.
Right.
Mhm. I was a Marianne.
Okay.
For sure.
Pull her picture up at age 75. Just pull up Dawn Wells' time of death. She's dead, right?
I assume
I think she died recently.
she died in 2020.
Yeah, recently. Look her up. Just
what
put
am I
Dawn,
looking up?
Dawn Wells, old Dawn Wells,
Oh,
or like aging Dawn Wells.
Dawn Wells versus what? Dolly Parton? Who are we putting her
Whatever.
up against?
No, I'm trying to make a point here.
Well, to your point, I guess maybe the fact that the Orioles, have been playing meaningful baseball in April the last 2 seasons.
No.
Would be.
I just wanted him to see what she looked like in
This
her.
was in 2008. So how old she would have been? I guess if she died at 82, she would have been 70 in that picture.
Okay, there you go. Would you have? At age 72,
What are we doing?
would you?
What are we doing?
I'm asking you a question.
What are we doing?
No, I'm making a point.
What are we doing?
Would you?
She looks lovely.
What show is she in? What show should I go back
She
and
lost
watch?
her luster.
She looks lovely.
Didn't she lose? Did she lose her luster?
I don't know. She's lovely.
I
lovely.
got you.
What
didn't
show do I need to go back and watch?
Gilligan's Island.
Okay.
Come on, dog.
Yeah,
The professor was in that.
No,
right?
you're saying it the wrong. It's less.
Okay.
You just said it the wrong way.
Okay.
If you had said,
Of course I did.
Is it less interesting here?
Speaking of being a perfectionist.
Then the answer is yes. It's less interesting here because they're always drafting at the end of the first round, and it's you can't get as amped
I
up
also
about
think,
that.
and I've been saying this for a while, I also think there is a decline, marginal, but there is a decline in the interest in the Ravens.
I do not.
Okay.
I think that I think that it's different. I think that it's different than it was because people aren't turning to sports radio to feed their interest in the Ravens. I think that there is a different world we're not used to. We're not used to a world where people are just happy to, like do state-run media or watch some podcast somewhere for people that have no idea what they're talking about, that have no connections whatsoever. Like, there's a different world that exists. I think we are living in a world where it feels different because it's not every night on television and every day on sports radio. People aren't turning to sports radio for information about the Ravens anymore. And so it feels different. But the actual fervor is no different.
Okay.
None whatsoever. Like, it is just as fervent.
Okay.
I would
I disagree.
yeah, because
I
you're
think the empty seats would tell you that, too.
there have been empty seats forever. There have been empty seats forever. Eternally.
Okay.
Like, there have always been empty seats. When you and I would go to every game, there were empty seats in every game. Like, they exist. It's not because they're not sold. It's not because – it's just that's the way that it works. Somebody has an asset that is an asset to them when they want to have it, and then when they don't want to have it, they don't want to have it. Like, it's eternally the way that it goes.
It's like a media credential. When you don't have it is when you really want it.
Is that what it is? Is that what it's like?
When you get it, when you have one, you don't even care.
Right.
But
Something along those
when you don't
lines.
have one, you complain about not having it.
Not that it's weird because not everybody does that. Some people don't care whatsoever.
Gotcha.
If they don't have a I would tell you that Pressbox asked if I could cover something late in the season, and the Ravens said no. And I said,
Nice.
boy, that's a real shame. I just feel terrible.
The Ravens said
that
no.
I can't go out
And
there.
what was their premise on that?
Because I hadn't been out there enough. That I couldn't suddenly show up in the playoffs and cover the team when I hadn't covered the team throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, so you don't want to get me started on that.
I
I
don't
won't be here until 1 o'clock.
There's the difference. I don't give a rat's ass.
I know, but you don't want
I don't care at all.
You don't want me to make a comment on that.
I just you can make whatever comment you want to make. I don't care. I really don't. Like, they can do whatever they want. It's their team. I don't give it. I don't care. They're not paying me.
I would say that that sort of
You want to say it's
whatever
short-sighted?
word
Yes,
you
it's
want to
short-sighted, sure.
use for that incident, I would just say garbage, but I could probably come up with a better one. That sort of garbage never would have happened 15 years ago.
Of course, it wouldn't have happened 15 years ago.
Or
I agree.
10.
But
Since there's been a change in the way the organization has been run or runs, they've fallen. And what's kind of funny is I can remember distinct conversations in the air quotes here in the old days where it would be said that as long as Steve Bisciotti runs the team, they will always be above the fray. That he was the conduit. That he was such a great owner. And this is a little bit juxtaposed against the Orioles in a variety of ways, not just media treatment, but in general, the juxtaposition between the Ravens and the Orioles vis-a-vis Bisciotti and Angelos was always, the boilerplate line always was, it would never happen under Steve's watch. In the same way that a lot of things that happened in the old days with the Orioles were all, and some of this was wrong, but were all put on Angelos. / his staffers, right? And that turned out to be a fallacy. that things have changed under Steve's tenure for the worse. And so we were, a collection of us, we were wrong about that.
Okay, worse is in the eye of the beholder, though. Like, the value of the franchise hasn't.
Yeah,
gone
no.
down.
We're not talking about that.
Yeah, you're
That has nothing to do with this. The franchise, the value of the franchise has whatever 8 times is or whatever.
Yes.
It's done that by zero influence at all by the owner. It's done that solely by the influence of the league.
Yeah, to some extent.
Yes,
No,
totally.
No.
The Cincinnati Bengals franchise has been moribund forever. They're worth 20 times more than they were 15 years ago.
I agree that it's more significant.
Has nothing to do with the owner.
But to pretend like the Ravens have that winning isn't part of it is wrong. Like, winning is also part of it. Like, it is. The brand is better. The brand is healthier because they win. Like, there's just.
But he's getting $2 billion for the franchise no matter what.
I understand.
No matter if they go 4-14
I agree
or
with
13 until they play 18 games, and then 6-14 when they play 20 in another 5 years.
Is that an option? Because I'm for it.
Oh, they're playing 20 games. That's coming.
I'm ready for that.
But this episode you just talked about of not being allowed to go in there in the playoffs because you weren't there in the regular season is
all good, baby.
Garbage. But it's garbage. It's a joke.
If you really, it's a
totally different.
It's a weird conversation for me to have.
It's totally different if you are. No disrespect here to the Harrisburg Daily News or whatever the hell it's called up there, where if you're with the Scranton Courier, you're an I'll use my words loosely here. You're an esteemed member of the Baltimore media.
It's true. I am an esteemed. I'm going to put that on my resume.
And to not, and it's an outrage. And here's the truth of the matter. This is the truth. Just like in A Few Good Men and parties where they don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. They know it's not. They know it's garbage. The people that work there know it's garbage. The person that made the decision would contend it isn't. The rest of them know it's garbage. And if you cut them open and the truth serum came out, they know it's wrong.
I think that that's an interesting point that you make. Is I would push back a little bit on that. I don't know that they think that it's garbage. I think they might say inherently. I think there are people that would be like, why are we doing this? Like, do we need to do this? But I don't think they think it's garbage. I think they believe there is a point. Like, boy, this is a weird conversation. I don't know why I'm having this conversation.
It's okay. It's better than talking about the effing Orioles.
Well, no, but we should be doing that. They
lost
28-1
the other day.
People want to hear outrage. That's what they want. Like,
well, damn it. They better fire the manager today, and they better cut freaking Westberg.
Here we go. Keep going. What else you got? Give me more.
And Kremer.
Yeah, get rid of Kremer.
And if the Japanese dude tonight gives up more than an earned run, he's gone too.
He had a good start.
Yeah, he's actually been the best pitcher.
He had the only one. There's only one good start, and
this is the stuff that matters to me because
I understand. That's why you're.
No, but this is the stuff that matters to me because I think it speaks to it speaks to the way of the world. Mm-hmm. It speaks to the way of the world. If we don't want Glenn Clark to come in here, we'll just cancel Glenn Clark.
Well, I didn't get canceled. I don't think. Did I get canceled?
You didn't know?
I think it's close.
Nobody told me.
I think you got canceled.
Son of a bitch.
But it's just the way it is. Like it does. It just
okay. So let me
it's
tell you.
Very very poor form.
Let me give you 2 thoughts on this, right? And I'll give you 2. One, I'm not offended for me. If anything, I'd be offended for press box. Like the press box can't.
But you are press box.
I understand that. But if press box can't say, hey,
they were saying no to press box.
That to me is the bigger problem. Is that they were saying the press box couldn't say, hey, during the year we can't do our coverage that way, but it's the playoffs and we'd like to do our coverage a little bit of a different way.
Which, by the way, everyone does.
Typically, that's always been the way that it's worked, but it's
Channel
not.
45 sends the people on the road in the playoffs.
Understood, but it's not quite like for whatever you want to say. They have been a bit more consistent with. They didn't just do it the press box. There were other outlets that wanted to do. This is the part that's weird.
This is the part that pisses me off.
I understand.
But why?
The Ravens want to operate with more exclusivity because they're a billion-dollar business. And they don't want it to be that anyone can just have access at any point. They want it to be that you can have the access that we tell you you're allowed to have and you can ask for permission to do things, and you can re-ask for permission, and we will give you a third of the not even a third, a tenth of the things that you want to do. We will work with you if you follow by 80 of these rules, because that's the same way that it's going to work with, say, the government, where if you want to come in and ask a question of the
Make the Ravens great again.
If you want to come in and say, hey, I think the president is great, don't you think the president is great? Then you're allowed to ask a question during the press conference. But if you want to ask, like, hey, where'd everybody's 401k go, then you're no longer allowed to ask a question during the press conference. That's what they want. Exclusivity. They want control of the message. They want all of those things.
Right, I think we all know that.
And you, understandably, coming from the place that you come from, say that's not good. Inherently, that's not the way it's supposed to be. And I, to an extent, agree with you, except for the public has decided they're totally fine with that. We're in a very weird place. Nobody's up in arms about the idea that all of the coverage of the Ravens comes from state-run media. They just say, is Lamar Jackson playing? That's all we care about. We don't care about any of the rest of it. You guys care about it. We don't. We're good. You're the ones worked up about this. Sports radio died.
I'll never forget. There are a lot of things, man, in sports, like indelibly etched moments in my mind. I will never forget David Steele writing, who used to be a big deal in Baltimore, writing a column on I don't even remember the date, June the 19th. The Orioles were what they always were, 29-52. They were, where they always are, right, in June, back then. David wrote a column and it said Sam Palazzo has to get fired. He said that this is a rudderless ship. Sam Palazzo has to be fired. And I'll never forget it. I was in the dugout, before the game where they do the manager's thing, and you're not allowed to walk out there can't walk out on the grass. And David Steele was there. I'll never forget it. He had shorts on that he shouldn't have been wearing, and some kind of T-shirt.
You're suggesting he's wearing like a hoochie daddy?
Just talking about
shorts?
like they weren't.
What are you saying?
Just David was not a shorts guy. I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
And I'm very fond of David.
Gotta be honest, I haven't thought a lot about David Steele's legs.
And
over the years.
David stood right there, and Sam walked out, and he nodded. David, he said, "Hi, Sam," and he sat on the dugout, sat on the bench, and he answered a bunch of questions, and I was just standing there. I'll never forget it. And Sam got up, and David walked over and said, "Sam, I just wanted you to know that was really painful of me to write today, and I'm here to tell you that." And Sam said, "David, I totally understand.
You're doing your job, right? Understood.
Because I totally understand. We're 29-52.
Right.
I don't hold any hard feelings at all. Right. We're going to go try to win a baseball game that I can prove you wrong. But I appreciate the fact that you're here." And it was me, and I don't even remember, Schmuck was there, and Brent Harris and Deuce or whoever were there with their camera, and all of us were like, holy crap. That was a really intense, awesome, intense moment. The two, this guy, when the Sun paper used to matter, barbershops all over town were saying, holy hell, David Steele said Sam Palazzo should be fired. It was a big deal.
Nobody was really caring about the Orioles at that point.
Well, maybe. But my point. When the newspaper was calling for the firing
the newspaper did
of
matter
the manager,
in general. It's just
right?
at that point the Orioles didn't really matter.
And I just never forget it.
I get it.
When you've lost the ability to allow that to happen, and I don't disagree at all with your point about the governmental angle of it. There are also a lot of fish to fry as it relates to that with other media sources. It's neither here nor there. But in this town, when you are a sports franchise and you've lost the ability to allow people to come in and say, this is what I see, and this is what I believe, and if you can do that, it always winds up being personal in some way, but if you can do that without it being overly personal, there should never be a reason why that's not allowed. And if the Ravens don't allow, and I would assume, given where it was, you weren't even going in there to do a hatchet job on him.
No, I was.
You were probably going in there to give Kyle Hamilton a back rub or something, right?
Something along those lines.
Right.
I don't even remember
when
what
you've
the story was
lost the
gonna be.
ability to allow people to come in and as a public entity,
But
not the
Right.
Cracker Barrel,
Right.
as a public entity that is funded by the public.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Somewhat, yes.
Period.
It's not.
It's all
period.
funded by the public.
It's in part funded by the public.
When you've lost that ability to do that, to allow the freedom of opinion on your product, you're done.
Okay, but I can't believe I'm about to do this.
You're done.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. Yeah, to some extent you're right, but at the same time, they didn't say Glenn Clark's not allowed.
I understand.
They said
what they said is we don't want you here because we're not sure what you're going to write about us.
Well, what they said is you need to be here more frequently. And if there was a world where somebody wanted to pay me to do that, God, I would hate that.
They would want you to be there more frequently to do what? To do what? Because I'm going to offer you
because your answer.
You know what I'm going to say.
No, the answer would be they want you indoctrinated.
Correct.
They want you.
It's the same thing that happened to you at Maryland. Let's just be honest.
They want you to. What happened to me in Maryland?
I thought you said they got mad at you about something.
Yeah, that guy, one guy.
Yeah. But I mean,
for the most part, they like me at Maryland.
Right. Well, they should. You wore the costume for 6 years.
Correct.
Now I'm wearing it, which is even more
it
weird.
It's quite funny. Yes.
But
yeah, that was the one guy wanted me fired. Yeah, that guy did. But that guy was a clown.
You know what's interesting about Maryland for 1 minute is
I don't know what this
is how
what
much
just happened here.
But here's the interesting about Maryland.
It's
an incredible now, April 23rd, how universally disliked the basketball coach was down there, and it never came out.
I'm gonna push back on universally disliked. It wasn't
widely disliked.
Maybe, but I don't even know that I would say widely.
Well,
there are a lot of people that might have found him to be abrasive. That a lot of people found Gary Williams to be abrasive. There are a lot of people who have no problem with what your personality is as long as you're winning.
Well, I can just say I have a very modest swath of people that I know there, all largely connected to the athletic department.
A lot of
none
people
of them liked him.
Afterwards are willing to say, I didn't like that guy. But in the moment, liked him as much as he was winning, and the value of their experience was worth something. It's an easy thing to do. Once that guy's gone, I never liked him anyway. Right, understood. But when he was winning, you weren't concerned about those things. And that's the thing that I'll eternally say. It's very easy
Weird thing
afterwards.
is he was winning.
What's that?
So the weird thing was he was winning.
Right, and that's the point.
No, I know. I'm saying.
He was, to some extent. Let's not oversell it either and suggest that he was the best coach in college basketball or something along those lines. But he was winning enough that people weren't concerned. It explains why it is that nobody's really talking about it. Because they weren't concerned about it. I don't care if I like the guy or not. Does he win?
Do you think it says more about him or the state of college basketball? Do you think it says more about him as a person or
the entirety of this?
Yeah, the whole thing.
I would say 60-40 the state of college basketball.
Gotcha.
That's what I would say.
Okay.
60-40. Like it's certainly somewhat of a reflection on him, but I think it's more of the state of college basketball.
More of a reflection on him because of the way that it transpired.
Yeah.
And not necessarily about the fact that Villanova made it more palatable. We can disagree on whether or not we think
doing.
It's better than talking about the Orioles.
No, it's not better than talking about the Orioles. I can't.
What do you think?
It's not.
I mean, nobody wants to.
No one is interested in this topic today. It's 4 weeks old. Drew's coming in here like, I know what we should talk about. The Orioles are getting their asses kicked. Let's talk about Kevin Willard.
What do I want to talk about? I want to do an NFL draft. That's what I want to do.
That's what he wants.
If you want to do that, Drew,
God.
you do that.
I have zero. Who's going to be the first pick?
This ship is rudderless. David Steele should write a column about this.
Who's going to be the first pick? The quarterback, Cam Ward.
God.
There you go. Who do you think's going to be the second pick?
I hate it.
Sanders?
No.
He probably should be, but
he probably should be.
But
he
I don't
won't
think
be.
he's going to be. No,
he won't be.
He's not going to the Steelers,
We're going
right?
to discuss.
He's going to the Saints, isn't he?
It looks like it might be the Steelers.
Really?
I don't know.
No one
about
knows.
that.
No one
Let
knows.
him and I do the show.
No. No. Oh, good Lord, no.
What does that mean?
No.
Yeah, what does that mean?
not on you.
We're talking more sports
Not
than
on you.
All you want to talk about is the Ravens denying you a media credit.
No, I didn't bring it up. God. They're like, you should come over here more frequently. And I say, to do what?
Yeah, to sing your praises.
Stop.
Give you a back rub.
If that means I'm not allowed over, I'll live.
Tell you how
I'm
great of a
good.
signing Earl Thomas was.
Yeah, right? God, you should come over more frequently. Yeah? If you want to pay me, by all means.
Please. So I can go there and have you tell me what I can and can't do.
God, I will pass. They were very angry.
That's what the Orioles said to me that time. They said, you haven't been here enough. I said, the first 51 games, I came to 17 of them, and we had a baby in that time.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. We come back in. I promise we're going to discuss the Orioles.
Why?
The thing. Jesus.
What, that they've quit already and
Yes.
we're a month into the
We're
season?
going to discuss it.
I think Gary Sanchez is
no,
on the verge
when we
of a break.
come back in.
All right. Man, you are very testy today.
Because this is what happens. Every now and then we do a show with you, and I'm like, that actually kind of went okay today. And then today, you come in here, and you want to do anything other than do the show.
Well, I have a lot going on.
Could you imagine? What if they asked you to fill in today on 105.7? What would you be? What is this? What you'd be doing?
No.
Yes.
You know what I would do.
What would you do?
Hey, welcome in 105.7 The Fan.
Let's talk about
Drew
golf.
Forrester filling in for Bob Haney. Do you think the Orioles should fire Brandon Hyde?
Because you know that's what people want to talk about.
But that's all you got to say.
Yes,
and then
you
I
let
would
the
just do
phones
this.
go,
And then I would just go.
100%.
No, I would say this. I want me honestly. 105.7 The Fan. Welcome in, Drew Forrester, filling in for Big Bob Haney today. Bob is off again today, and
You're taking shots at Bob.
I saw Bob the other day.
Where?
At the station when I was recording my show.
Oh, right.
105.7 The Fan.
Was recorded?
Yeah.
That was it. I was told that was the last one. 105.7 The Fan. Hey, welcome in. Let's talk about the PGA Championship. Going back to Quail Hollow.
That's what he would do. That's what
All right, now, who you think the Ravens are taking tomorrow?
when we come back in.
How'd Maryland do against Florida State?
We'll discuss.
Hey,
It wasn't
Barbalis, or whatever your name is. Hey, Barbarous.
It wasn't a great year for them.
Hey, Barabbas, tee up the clip about what's his name on the YouTube clip. Tee up the Sleepy Floyd clip for me. Let's beat him up for a while.
For 4 hours. Let's just.
Oh, man. Did I ever tell you about the time I tried to kiss Elizabeth Shue?
Yeah, there we go. Pull them all out.
Elizabeth
Pull 'em
Shue's
all.
like,
Just get.
who are you?
Run all of them.
I said, I'm here with the
Run
soccer team. That's who I
know
am.
someone who claims they did kiss Elizabeth Shue. Someone that might walk into this office at some point this morning that claims they did.
Well, I did. I did try.
CountySports.zone is where you go to find everything related to high school sports in the state of Maryland. How Calvert Hall do you
Do you
yesterday?
know how funny it is? They lost, I think, to Spalding,
they
right?
lost to
You
Spalding.
know how funny it is, by the way, when you're at a party for the All-Star game
Trying to do a read.
and you walk
Come to
in
your
and,
house and chew gum.
Elizabeth Shue and her brother are in the room.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know I've seen her before,
Yeah.
Karate Kid, and
Yeah.
I definitely have seen him, Melrose Place. Which one's hotter?
Right, 100%. 100%. You can find out everything about.
What was the final yesterday?
I think 11-6.
Where was that game? At Spalding?
It was at Spalding, yeah.
Man, they are so good.
They are very good. There's no doubt about that. Find out more about that and everything going on in high school sports. CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Orioles next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Please.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Something big is coming to Maryland, but it's more than what you think. Because this year, it's more than a race. It's the Preakness Festival 150. And if there's one event you don't want to miss, it's the Magic of Maryland music celebration with DJ D-Nice, Club Quarantine 5 Live, BSO alongside conductor Igmar Thomas, special performances by Deborah Cox, Jadakiss, Too Short, and more. Tickets are limited. Find them and see all other events free and ticketed at PreaknessFestival.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and on the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the long road back from Tommy John surgery for Orioles closer Felix Bautista, as well as Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells. Also inside, we learn more about new Maryland basketball coach Buzz Williams from the players who have played for him at other stops. Plus, evaluators around baseball chime in on Orioles' top prospect Samuel Basayo. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com. where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
I'm going to pose it to you this way. Do you believe...
It's Gavin Sheets' birthday today.
Happy birthday, Gavin. Love that guy.
0 for 4 last night. Thanks a lot, Gav.
Oh, boy. Do you believe this is just what it is? Like, it's easy to bring up. Remember the year the Nationals won the World Series. They got off to a disastrous start. They were, 19-31. We think about the Mets a year ago. And it's still less than a month into the season. There's still a lot of baseball to be played. Do you believe this is the story of what the 2025 Orioles are? Or is there still a thought that it's way too early for us to be acting this dramatically?
It is way too early to act this dramatically because they are going to hit better. They have to. It's like the opera, and it has to be better than you think it is. Mm-hmm. They're going to hit. The pitching, though, is very troubling. And if I said they would go 86-76 and miss the playoffs. I think I'm off on that now that I see what's happening with the pitching. I think they're going to be hard-pressed to win half their games based on the pitching. If Eflin comes back, look, I think we all know the dirty little secret, right, is Rodriguez is done. I think we all know that.
I don't,
deep down,
I don't know that
he's not coming back.
It'd be one thing if it was elbow. But I can't say that I know that. Now, do I think he's going to be back before the All-Star break? No, I don't.
If Eflin comes back and he's okay, then, now we've got someone reliable every 5 days. And this Japanese guy's been good / very good so far.
He was very good once, yes.
But he's certainly been, other than Eflin, our most competent pitcher for sure.
But that's
not saying much. I get it, but he's been okay.
Prettiest girl at Fat Camp.
He's been way better than maybe I thought he would be. But anyway, the pitching is troubling, and it isn't getting. And here's the problem. This is what always happens, right? There comes a time we've had this before. Maybe it was 17 or 16. Well, we made the playoffs in 12, 14, and 16. So maybe it was 17. Wasn't there a year when we were like lights out through Memorial Day with the bullpen and the pit? It was like the Chad Bradford era or whatever. And then
Chad Bradford.
I don't remember.
That would predate 2012.
Okay, but we were great. The bullpen was awesome, and then Memorial Day came and we were done. Like, we ran totally out of gas. I do think that's the way pitching generally goes. And we're already in trouble. I don't see many teams. I could be wrong on this. I don't see many teams who go from on a 1 to 10, 1 being 1's the worst you could pitch, and 10's being the best you could pitch. I think it's very rare you see a team go from 4 to 8 through the course of a season. I think you see a lot of teams go 8 to 4. We're a 4 right now. I don't see us going.
I don't know that they're a 4.
Right, but
they're the worst pitching staff in baseball.
So we're whatever we are.
Yeah.
I don't. If you want to call it a 2? They're not going from 2 to 7. They're just not. There's no historical or empirical evidence to suggest that. They're not going from being a terrible pitching staff to a great pitching staff by August. They're not.
I certainly don't see that.
But I've seen plenty of other examinations where teams have been 7s in April, May, and June. Then they get an injury. Then an bullpen arm gets hurt, and all of a sudden now they're a 5. And by the end of the season, they're just throwing up junk. And they go from 9 games above 500 to 12 games below 500 by the end of the year because the pitching staff wore down. I feel like we're in big trouble with the pitching staff. We're going to hit. I'm not overly worried about that. Am I worried about some individual guys? Maybe. Could Gunnar have a stinker, for him, 251, 21 homer, 68 run batted in year, where you're like, holy cow, I didn't see that coming. Could that happen? Maybe. But they're going to hit. They are. They have too many talented players to not hit the ball. But you also lose your enthusiasm when you're losing 7-0 or 15-1.
I think that.
So I think they're in trouble. I do. I think to answer your question, I do think they're in trouble because I think the pitching, there's no real help. There's nowhere to go. Who you bringing up? You gonna let this kid come back up again, the shaggy-haired kid, and pitch? Like, go ahead. But he you know,
how's he any different than
yeah,
the rest of them? Right, correct.
They're in now. In fairness to them, they didn't see this with Grayson Rodriguez. They didn't. There's some things that have happened. But this is why in the offseason, when they didn't go out and bring in, we can make any argument you want about any of these guys, right? Because no one knew Nick Pivetta was going to be this good. Mm-hmm. No one knew. I think we all kind of knew Crochet was going to be that good, but they didn't want to give up players. So okay. But no one knew Pivetta would be this good. I don't know that anyone thought Buehler would be this good. But you could have gone out and had those guys for cheap, and you didn't do it. And now you got nothing.
That's
and
true.
They're in trouble.
And they chose Charlie Morton. That was the guy that they chose to go
right.
get
I
instead.
almost forgot about him. I mean, he's done. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously he's
right.
done.
So they're in trouble. I think they're going to be hard-pressed to win half their games at this point. Right.
I probably agree.
Yeah.
I probably agree that that's where they are.
And
now,
I don't see how much of this is the manager's fault.
That's the interesting part.
I just don't see that.
It really is the interesting part. I'll go ahead and do this. Would you rather won today? Because today is Would You Rather Wednesday, and you can participate at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter or Blue Sky or Facebook, wherever you want to go. And if you do, you'll be registered to win a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill. And Would You Rather number 1 today is Would you rather?
Could have had Gavin Sheets, too, for cheap.
They could have. And what would he have done last night?
Well, don't worry about that. He had a home run the night before.
Would you rather things stay exactly
like... You love to dwell on the negative, don't you?
Thank you, I do. That's why they kick me out. Would you rather things stay exactly the way they are until the All-Star break, when the Orioles then fire Brandon Hyde and sign Mike Elias to a 5-year extension, or they stay exactly the way they are to the All-Star break, when they fire Mike Elias and sign Brandon Hyde to a 5-year extension?
Well, those are both stupid.
That's how we call it Would You Rather Wednesday. What we'll do is we'll do that, and then we'll have a conversation afterwards.
I'm taking neither.
No, you're not.
I just don't see how this is the manager's fault. And I've never been a trumpet blower for Brandon Hyde. I think he's fine. I don't think he's awful. I don't think he's great. I think he's a manager. But some of this has got to be laid to the feet of the general manager, that's for sure. I mean, it just does. Now, he may secretly be saying, you can't land it on my feet. The owner wouldn't give me any money. And that might be true. But if you made me pick one of those two, I would say the general manager is the one that constructed a roster. I just don't see how it's possible that this is the fault of the manager.
I think there are two separate thoughts when we have this conversation. Go ahead and give me your Would You Rather Wednesday answer. And
I'd fire Elias, I guess, at the All-Star break. So yeah.
There are two separate thoughts, right? Because the thought that we are all having is who is more to blame for the situation that they're in, and I agree. To me, this is more Mike Elias than it is Brandon Hyde. But we also know the way that this works. The way that this works is the general manager fires the manager to protect himself.
Sure.
And try to deflect from that and insulate.
I mean, that's what's going to happen if they're 24 and 40.
Yes.
He's gone.
As everybody keeps texting me, Kyle Ottenheimer and I were having texts about this last night.
What's he doing?
I never know. I truly never know.
What's that goof
It's
doing?
very much like the meatloaf.
Man, he used to crush that guy. You think you have it tough?
Yeah, I do.
He made Kyle cried a couple times. He made Kyle cry.
I think that was unrelated. I think he was just a crier.
Soft. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
Well, that's fine.
That was. I don't think it had anything to do with me. No, is it possible? Yes. If it continues like this, at some point Brandon Hyde is going to get fired because that's the way it works. That's how the game is played. Other than when the old owner,
I think we all know that.
When the old ownership just said, "I refuse to." If you're the manager, you've got to be the manager to the end of the season, right?
Right.
That's the way that it works. In baseball, the way that it works is if it's not working, at some point the general manager, in order to save face, in order to distract from criticism of himself, he has to fire the manager in order to say it's the manager's fault. And that's the way that it works. And then at some point ownership has to figure out if it actually was the manager's fault or not. But before they have the chance to do that, the general manager fires the manager. So inevitably, if it stays like this, Brandon Hyde will be fired if it stays like this.
Baseball's the weirdest sport when it comes to this topic, in my opinion. Baseball is the weirdest sport. And I don't even know if I know why, but it is the weirdest sport when it comes to firing the manager. You can see I fired a coach once in the middle of the season, literally right in the middle of the season. Because I knew, I could tell, I was being told, and I knew in my gut the team didn't like him. They were not playing for him. They had ostensibly said, we're going to get you fired because we don't want you around us anymore. And I fired him. And look, they all don't work out. Every managerial firing, you can go back and look. Some work out, some don't. This one worked out for us. The players responded.
Yep.
We had a great second half. We upset someone in the playoffs. We almost upset the team that eventually won the championship. It worked on that occasion. I also didn't have a choice. I had a team. I almost had a mutiny on my hands because they disliked the coach so much.
Now that's a different scenario.
Right.
Yes.
But my point being, in I don't consider baseball to be an emotional sport, despite the occasional flare-up when someone runs down to the base too fast or steals when it's 9-1.
I got to think about that sentence.
I don't think baseball is an emotional sport in the same way that other sports are built on contact, physicality, and energy. Baseball's not built on energy, in my opinion.
That's the Orioles certainly aren't. There's no doubt about that.
But it's not. And so you can see where firing a hockey coach, you could see where spiritually that could generate some energy in a team. You could see where firing a basketball coach could generate some energy. Someone comes in with new energy, different energy, more energy. Here's how we're doing it today. I just, you could see it in football, right, which is the ultimate contact sport. I just don't see the same connection in baseball. I just don't. I don't see where the manager can make Jordan Westberg hit that pitch. I just don't buy it. I don't see it. But I do see how a coach could say to the point guard, if that Clark kid scores more than 8 points tonight, I'm going to string you up by your balls. And you go, well, I ain't getting strung up my balls, coach. I'm on it.
Yeah.
And then he gets 6 points, and the coach clicks his heels and says, I did a good job on you tonight. I don't see the same thing in baseball.
Yeah, I might argue that basketball is a little bit more similar to baseball at this point, where the coaches kind of can't coach. Like, it's just
I don't know if I agree with that.
The players are making too much money. And
I'm talking about, well, they're making too much in college, too.
Yeah,
I guess I was thinking I was thinking a little bit more in my mind. I was thinking a little bit more about college basketball than I was professional basketball.
Yeah.
But I do still think that in the heat of the moment in the NBA, when Spoelstra says, we got 8 seconds left, here's the play, it's going over here to Shaq.
Yeah.
They still do that.
I think that the X's and O's matter slightly in the NBA. I think they matter a little bit.
But I would also agree with you that in general,
but I think in general,
the players
basketball,
don't want the coach to be there.
In general, right now in basketball, the coaches have less impact than they've ever.
I don't disagree with that.
There's just not a lot you're allowed to do.
I definitely don't disagree with that.
And I do think that there's something to be said for that about in baseball. In baseball, it's the manager is just sort of there to be the guy that sits in the dugout, right? And like you're the one. Every now and then you got to go out and yell at an umpire because your guy's getting squeezed. You got to go get yourself kicked out of the game. The role of the manager in baseball has become marginalized by a billion.
I would agree with that. I mean, the pitching changes now are almost automated.
Mike Elias can say, well, I don't set the lineups, but I do give him all the data because that's what he's saying. He's saying we know how the lineups, we want them to be set. We want them to be set a certain way. So we tell the manager, essentially, here's how you should set the lineup. And then we say, but we don't set the lineups. He goes and he's certainly the one with the pen. Like, he writes them out. But it's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing in baseball. And so to the point, like...
I just don't think the manager in baseball...
What really happens if the Orioles fire Brandon Hyde in 2 weeks? My gut is they
win
stink.
4 of their first 6, and then they lose 12 of their next 20.
My gut is they can't pitch.
Right. That's correct.
That's my gut. My gut is nothing about having a different manager changes the fact that they can't pitch. Does it create some sense of... like, things are really going bad here, and for a moment...
Well, it might press them now, and I have no idea if there are teams out there right now lurking and mouth-watering over this, but it could press them right now to make a deal of some sort within the next 3 weeks. And I don't even know who that involves. I have no idea. It might have otherwise involved Kjerstad, but he's playing now because Kowser's out. Maybe it involves Kobe Mayo. Maybe it would have involved Basello, but he's out. Like, I don't know. But I do feel like they're in a position now, if this continues in the next 2 weeks, they're in a position where they're either going to have to fold up for the year, or they're going to have to say, well, we didn't want to get rid of these 3 guys, but we're pressed into doing it. And we're going to have to give A, B, and C. And again, I don't even know who you're doing that with because everyone kind of still thinks they're good, even now, right? I would use San Diego as an example. You're not going to get Dylan Cease from the Padres right now.
Not right now, no.
They're 17-7 or whatever. They're not getting rid of him because they see stars. They're like, oh, you know what? This might be our year. So you're not getting rid of him. Are you going to get the dude from the Mariners, maybe?
You continue to hope that the Mariners are just so desperate for offense that, like...
There you go. So you get, Castillo, you get him, and you give up 2 or 3 kids. But you didn't want to do that in February. And now you're pushed to doing it because you're going to try to somehow become the Tigers of last year and go through this, 12 games under 500 on July 4th, and then you finish 12 games over 500 because you had a great second-half run. I don't know, man. It depends on who you get rid of. But I don't know that I'm doing that. If I'm not going to be any good this year, I'm just not going to be any good this year. I guess that's the way I would look at it. And I know that sounds defeatist, but I would say that if on June 1, they're, whatever the number of games would be, if on June 1 they're 16-30, I think I'm good, man. Sorry. Love you. We'll be back next year. Like, I'm not giving away a bunch of people to try to finish 85-77.
And the argument they would make is if at that point they genuinely have reason to believe that Grayson Rodriguez is going to be back and they genuinely have reason to believe that Kyle Bradish is going to be back, then you can start painting a picture of how it's not going to be miserable the rest of the way. It's a separated conversation. I think the question right now that people have
and you can't say it publicly.
Is it so rudderless at the moment that you have no choice, whether it's the manager's fault or not? It's the David Steele thing, that you just have to fire the manager to acknowledge that it's rudderless.
Okay, but you can't fire him right now.
Yeah, I've said all along.
They're 9-13.
I've said all along, to me,
you can't.
You never do anything like this before Memorial Day. You just don't. But the question would be, what's changing between now and Memorial Day?
Well, that's why you got to let it play out and see if maybe, and what would that be at that point, 60 games? Maybe they scratch their way to 32-28 by then.
Yeah,
maybe. Right.
Maybe.
But I mean, you
find it very
answered your
hard
own
to
question. If you've come up with that, as your expiration date, then you can't throw it out on May the 3rd. You got to let it go till May the 30th.
That's my opinion. That's Glenn Clark's opinion.
I think that's fair. I think
you
60
don't do anything
games
like
is
this
fair.
before Memorial Day. It just doesn't happen
Now,
that way.
Okay, I totally agree with that. And that's whatever that is, 60 games. And if you would rather just use 60 games, that's fine. At the 60-game mark, we're making a call. I would agree with that.
I think the question becomes
But
at what
But what if they're they're 9-13 right now? What if they're 12-27 in 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Or what if
then what do you do?
What if they continue to look lifeless? I think it's not that they're losing. It's the lifelessness with which they're losing that is
but do you
accelerating the conversation.
But you don't care what the final score was on Sunday, do you really?
Not really.
Right.
Except for when you turn around.
It was 15-1. The final score was 15-1 or 15-2.
You're saying because at the end,
but 15-2 ain't good.
No. It's the follow up is it's that, and then your response to that is turning around and getting one hit and popping everything up on a Tuesday night, and again appearing disinterested. It's the part.
I would agree with
where
that.
The lethargy,
totally agree.
We're not even going.
Totally
through
agree.
emotions.
Now you could segue into a conversation about the manager.
That's what I think the
to
conversation
say
is.
What, and this, I guess, this would be the question that only anyone in the locker room could answer, because we couldn't even answer it. Has he gone in and thrown bats around and called them all lollygaggers yet?
Mm-hmm.
Has he done that?
Mm-hmm.
Has he gone in and yelled and screamed and kicked stuff around and said, "This is BS, you're professionals, this is garbage"? Or has he said, it's baseball. You know, you go through these patches where you're pretty bad for 10 games. We'll come out of it. Don't worry. The boys know how to play. Which of those two? And then you would ask, which of the two would make you feel better? You, meaning the fan. Like,
I don't know.
Would you feel better today?
Right.
If right now on Twitter, I don't even know who writes anymore, but if the beat writer for the team, Brittany or whoever it is, popped up and said, "Hey, Brandon Hyde flipped out last night, got into a shoving match with Adley Rutschman, called the team a bunch of losers, quitters, and they're all pissed off with him, and he's pissed off with them." And Hyde had a quote that said, "Yeah, it got a little heated after the game last night, but we sorted it out, and these things happen when you're struggling." Would you feel better?
No, I don't think so.
Some people would.
Yeah, and that's
so,
the
yeah.
weird
I'm
part,
asking
right?
you, would you?
Do I know better? I know better than to think that means anything. But would you? This is it's the guarantee fairy. It's the, you want it on the box, right? Like it's got to be your
stick a head up a bull's
It's got to be
rear
your
end.
bull, right? Like
Right.
it's the whole thing.
You were there, remember?
Right? Yeah. Your daughter's missing.
Right.
Yeah. There'd be some world where I'd be like, okay, at least I don't feel like I'm being gaslit. At least there feels like some acknowledgement of this is an unmitigated.
See, it goes
disaster.
against the grain, and this now goes into a deeper sort of philosophical discussion about the athletic mind, and the role of, I don't even want to say the manager, could be the role of an authoritative figure, be that the manager or the general manager or even the owner, right? What you really want to say, if you're Mike Elias or you're Brandon Hyde, what you really want to say is, are we afraid? Holy hell, yeah, we're afraid. We're hitting 224 as a team, if that, maybe even less. Our pitching ERA is awful. Are we worried? You're damn right we're worried. Mm-hmm. But you can't say that, because now the athlete says, oh, now the pressure's really on me. And what you're trying to do is take pressure off of them. Right? Trying to take it off. Tighter you get, the looser you become, right? We're trying to loosen up now. We're not trying to get tight. Everybody wear a skirt and a bra to the game tomorrow. Let's change it up.
Yeah.
The rose goes in the front, big guy. Put the thong on. Like, you're trying to loosen it up. So tightening right now isn't helping. But that said, you would want to hear the manager say, "I'm getting close to fed up with this."
Right.
This is kind of a joke.
I kind of appreciated him calling out Charlie Morton the other day.
Yeah.
I did. Like, did it change anything? Absolutely not. Charlie Morton still went out there and sucked ass on Sunday. But I appreciated the fact that he kind of said, dude, you're making $15 million. He didn't use those words, but you could
said we
need
him to stay in there tomorrow.
What was coming out of him was, whatever you feel about the decision, we paid you $15 million. You got to go effing pitch.
Well, it also speaks to what I would assume was an interesting phone call in the offseason when Elias called Brandon Hyde and said, hey, just want you to know, just want you to know, we got a press release coming out here in about an hour. Just want you to let you know we agreed to terms today with Charlie Morton.
He said, to do what?
And there was a silence, and Elias said, hello, Brandon, you there? Yeah, I'm here. Is that you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. We got Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
For a year for $15 million. I don't care what we're paying him. We're going to pitch Charlie Morton?
Right.
Well, yeah. Okay. All right, anything else?
Yeah.
I'm on the 8th hole here, come to cover Maryland. Anything else?
Got a guy on the other line about some white balls.
Anything else? No. You okay, Mike? I mean, you okay, Brandon? Yeah, I'm okay. But seriously?
I thought you said you were going to get me a pitcher.
You're seriously?
Yeah.
This is who we're signing?
Right.
So far, you've signed a Japanese guy no one's ever heard of, and Charlie Morton. Are we not doing better than that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're trying, but
these guys cost an awful lot of money.
Corbin Burns wanted $44 million a year for 8 years, and we offered him $40 million for 4. Oh, so this is who we got. Yep. All right, I got to go.
Yeah.
And this could. I took it the other day. I took it as if Brandon Hyde was saying, "I didn't want this guy in the first place. They wanted him.
Yeah.
You better man up tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is your guy.
Right.
You need to man up tomorrow." That's what I took it as.
There might be an element of that coming out as well. I don't disagree with you.
You gave me this dude?
But again, did it change anything? No. But did I there is that feeling of I don't want to feel like I'm being gaslit.
Well, the manager, again, I mean, the
manager can't come out and say all my players suck because he has to be in the
manager
clubhouse
also,
with them.
the manager, college basketball has changed, obviously, dramatically now in the last couple of years, but college basketball was always one of the best sports because the basketball coach picked the basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
I want that kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm recruiting that kid.
Right, so when it didn't work out, it's on you.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But also, you got your kid.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that kid, right? Now it's changed because now the coach has become a de facto general manager. He now controls the money. I want that kid. How much is it? $750? I'll take him, right? Baseball managers don't pick the players.
Right.
I always found that odd when I was the general manager of the soccer team. I would always say it only happened one time. I signed a guy named David Eyes from St. Louis. I really liked him as a player. He was a former Herman Trophy winner in college. He was small, but he was a scrappy defensive player. I really liked him. My coach did not like him. And beginning of the year, he played a little bit. He made a mistake in a game, cost us a goal. Coach said after the game, I'm not playing him tomorrow. He's going to sit. And I'm like, he missed his man on one goal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's too small. He's not a fighter. I'm telling you, I told you I didn't like this guy. And I'm like, oh, crap. He didn't play for 3 or 4 games. Then we put him back in. He didn't do anything. Now he played 3 or 4 more games. And by midseason, David Eyes is like, I don't even know why I came here.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned. I'm like, should have never signed you. Because my coach didn't like you.
Yep.
And there was nothing short of him becoming Pele. There was nothing that was going to change my coach's opinion on that guy. And likewise, I had the same thought about Danny Kelly when he was in Harrisburg. I really wanted to sign Danny Kelly, and my coach didn't.
Right.
And I always regretted that. But I wound up saying, from that point, I wound up always saying every summer to the coach, hey, this kid's free, this kid's a free agent, this kid's a free agent, this kid's a free agent. Any of those 4 interest you? Mm-hmm. Well, I like that guy. Okay, let me go try to get him.
Right.
Even though he might have been C on my list.
Yes. But acknowledging it's a little bit different given the money that's involved. It's a different
No. But I'm saying when the manager, I understand.
Yeah.
But if Brandon Hyde wouldn't have signed Charlie Morton, and you've given him Charlie Morton, what the hell is he going to do?
Yeah, but Brandon Hyde doesn't have a choice. This is the way that it works in baseball.
Right.
You are the role of the manager is not significant. It's just not. We put the roster together. This is what you have to work with. Go get them. That's just the way that it goes. The eternal question of, does it get to a point where it's so putrid, where it's so bad that you got to speed up that timeline that I suggest, where you don't even consider this until after Memorial Day? Maybe. It's not after 2 games.
Right.
The 2 games have been putrid the last 2 times out. If it's this bad for a week, yeah, that process might speed up. You might get there a little bit quicker. But is it going to solve anything? I don't think so.
Well,
I
just don't see how they're going to get. I just keep going back to what I said about the pitching.
Yep.
You've seen a lot of examples over the years of somebody's pitching staff being an 8 in April, May, and June, even against conventional wisdom. Oh, we didn't think our pitching staff was going to be any good. Holy hell, this guy's 8-2, this guy's 7-3, this guy's 9-4. It was like the dude last year, Ranger, whatever the hell his name was, in Philly, who was like 12-0 at one point and then flatlined. Right. I've seen a lot of examples where a team is an 8 until the All-Star break, and then their pitching rotation goes in the tank. I don't ever remember seeing someone go from a 2 to an 8.
Was last night more about the Orioles, or was it more about Mitchell Parker? We're going to ask that question of Kevin Frandsen and get his thoughts on both. That he, of course, the Nationals Color Analyst, but he also has a role
Nobody
with MLB
even knows who
Network
Mitchell
Radio.
Parker is, including Mitchell Parker.
He's pitching to a sub-1.5 ERA this season.
Yeah, it's a
Well, they played the Orioles.
Once. That's. He's made other starts.
That counts as
believe
like
it,
well, he went
believe it or
8-8.
not.
That's like half of his starts right there.
Why are we having somebody on from D.C.?
Well, come back. I can't help it.
We need a Caps report,
Yeah,
too.
that's what we should do. We should definitely dive
about hanging on the rim?
Dive into that.
Are we doing hanging on the rim?
I would, but you wanted to tell me old blast stories.
Oh.
So I don't know what to do with that now.
Well, the Lakers won last night.
Thank you. They did. You're 100% right. Are you here for the whole show?
No.
Okay, well, then we're probably not going to do hanging on the rim.
Well, the Lakers won.
They did. You're 100. And that series is now?
1-1.
Look at you. Look at the expert.
Come on, man.
What about Detroit, New York? Where's
1-1.
that series? It is 1-1.
They just won at the Garden.
Memphis, Oklahoma City.
That is 2-0 Oklahoma City.
Look at you. Look at our guy.
Had the over in that one.
Oh, yeah. What about Milwaukee, Indiana?
That is 2-0 Indiana.
With this guy. It's just showing off now.
Well, I don't know
What
if
is
you know
the
this.
host of Hanging on the Rim?
Yeah, I don't know if you know this or not, but I actually follow sports.
Do you? Do you?
Well, I know more than you.
I don't know about that either.
That's not saying. That's high praise coming from you.
Yeah, right. What about Cleveland, Miami?
That is 1-0 Cleveland.
This guy. You can't get anything past this guy. You can't
I
do
just
it.
had to think it through.
If you missed Dan Ross and Luke talking baseball,
Pat
Monday
Riley
night,
not going to get it done this year.
Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan Show is brought to you by the Costas Inn. Kevin Franzen's next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious spilling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Drew Forrester, drewsmorningdish.com. Fairways and Greens on 105.7 The Fan. You doing that this Sunday?
Yep. Yes.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
We're in.
That sounded not wholly confident the way that you described it. Okay.
There's just nothing to talk about because nobody cares about that tournament in New Orleans.
What is
the two-man.
Sure, the Zurich, whatever that is. Yes, so that'll be this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. over on 105.7 The Fan for Fairways and Greens. Let's continue to discuss some Orioles, little Nationals as well. Our next guest, you, of course, hear him on MLB Network Radio.
He's not going to rub it in, is he?
He might. And he's also the color analyst for the Nationals on MASN. He is Kevin Frandsen. And he is with us this morning again here on GCR. Kevin, it's Glenn and Drew here in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thank you, as always, taking the time for us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Last night, a little tired. Doesn't win, no big deal. But it's okay.
Yeah, all right. Let me deal with it.
If you guys run the
score, I had to gloat.
If you guys run the score up on us tonight, we're throwing at somebody. I'm just telling you that now.
Kevin,
we've already shown we've done it this year, so we're good. But we'll get back.
A lot of questions with it. So the Orioles lose 24-2 on Sunday. And then the word is, like Jordan Westbrook says, we're going to respond from this, and we're going to see, and then this is what they get. What to you was the line between Mitchell Parker's been unbelievable this season, and he's going to make a lot of teams look silly at this point, versus, I don't know, man. I'm really concerned about what it is that the Orioles are doing, given that was their follow-up to losing 24-2.
I mean, look, baseball more than any other sport, the momentum doesn't go to the next day; it goes to the next day starting pitcher more than anything. So when you go down 2-0, right away early on, it doesn't help, right? When you're trying to get things going. So, what Jordan Westbrook says is correct. Like, they're gonna get it going and stuff, but it just doesn't happen like that in baseball. Like, the thing that carries over in baseball is confidence, right? And so it could be one at bat from the previous day. It could be something that you take away from, maybe your last at bat that might not have gone right, but something in there clicked, right? And yesterday for the Orioles, you didn't see a lot of that. You saw a lot of guys really trying to make it happen. And baseball is the worst sport to do that, because the more you try, the less things happen. And everyone always tries to say, well, you remember Forgetting Sarah Marshall? Do you ever see that movie?
Of course I've seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
84 times.
You and I can
do less.
I'm ready. I'm ready to do a podcast with you. You and I are doing the podcast, remembering Forgetting Sarah Marshall. You and I are going to do that.
Well, when they're learning how to surf, and he's like, no, do more. No, do less. No, what are you doing? It's exactly the same thing. So the more you try, the more you're going to put yourself in a bind. They got great hitting guys there. Two of my good buddies in Tommy Joseph and Cody Ashe. The message and the non-panic that they'll push the guys, but they're not going to panic to the point that they're the guys are going to feel any pressure, because again, they played in the big leagues. They understand the struggles of the big leagues. And at the end of the day, it's all about just having the confidence and going from one game to the next, and not riding the roller coaster.
Yeah, and we've been talking about that too. The pitching and the pitching. The Oriole pitching's not very good. They got some injury issues. I know they're kind of waiting to find out if Bradish will be back and Rodriguez. That I don't think the pitching's going to get any better. But the hitting, you mentioned confidence, right? And it is offensively swinging a baseball bat's a lot like a golf club. It only takes one. It could be a nondescript at bat in the 8th inning tonight when they're losing 5-3. And Rutschman does something, and he's like, oh, right. When I do that, good things happen. And then the next night he goes 3 for 4, and the next night the same thing happens to Gunnar. Like, they're going to hit. It is a game of confidence. They're going to hit. I just don't know if the pitching's going to be good enough for them to win 3 out of 5. I just don't see that happening.
That is going to be the question. I mean, on MLB Network, we always talk about it a lot. And, there's nothing wrong with having depth and quality of depth, but it's like there's a lot of threes, right? Like there's a lot of guys that you're going to set in the rotation that are threes in that Orioles rotation right now. And without Grayson, that hurts, right? With Kyle Bradish before he got hurt, you could see the guy being built like as a top end rotation guy. But without those guys, it's going to hurt. It's going to struggle. There's going to be some struggle, and the offense is then there's more pressure on the offensive side. So. The thing, again, it's guys that they were not very good against left-handers last year. They're awful against lefties this year, and that's been and they try to bring in the right guys, and they did. But here's the part: this is month number 1. They're definitely not losing the NL East or the AL East in this month right now. They haven't done that to themselves. But this is the part: you never win a division in the first month, but you can lose it. They haven't lost it. So there's a lot of times it's a damn good team, and it's one that you look at, you're going, I see it. It's just at some point it's going to click.
Kevin Frandsen is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Kevin, I guess one of the questions that I have is I am of the belief that you don't even really judge a team, judge a manager, anything along those lines until after Memorial Day, right? Like it's way too small of a sample size until that's the case. But combined with a team that just looked lethargic. I mean, just looked lifeless for much of the second half of last season, right? Like they were a sub-500 team from June 20th on last year and did nothing offensively down the stretch and into the playoffs. Is there a point where it's not really a judgment? Is there a place where you start having a conversation that there are bigger problems? And whether it's Brandon Hyde's fault or not, we just know this is how baseball works, that at some point you have to do something to shake things up.
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, Brandon Hyde's not the problem. He's not the issue in this whole thing. And a change there would not do anything to me. Like, he's got insane amount of talent on the position player side. He's lacking with some of the I believe, in that rotational depth that they have. A constant struggle, and it's like, what is that his fault? You know what I mean? Like nothing really. He's a great communicator. Guys love him. Guys play hard for him. And guess what? The other thing is when no offense happens, everything looks lethargic. The moment you score runs, it's the best offense ever. Like, but and at some point this summer, it's going to be like that for the Orioles. It's going to be. There's so much talent there. You're looking at it, you're going, okay, I get it. Like I understand. They're going to score 6-7 runs a game. A darn good stretch because they have that talent. And for me, it's not a leadership change, at all. It's guys that are just going to have to find their way. And there's no, antidote for, you got to do it right now. There's nothing that you can do. It's just, you got to be patient with it, stay positive in that moment. And, at the end of the day, true talent will show up. And I think all in the industry know that there's a ton of talent in Baltimore.
So let me ask you about two guys specifically because we believe them to be part of what you're talking about. And I just want to get your thoughts on what's going on here because the Adley Rutschman part of it is very difficult. I wanted to be able to just say, hey, whatever happened in the second, clearly there was some sort of injury. There's got to be an explanation. And this year he got off to a quick start, and then it quickly dissipated. And yeah, he was still kind of hitting the ball hard. When do we have the conversation about what's going on with Adley Rutschman, Kevin?
And the conversation go on right now because all the expected numbers, I will tell you right now, I never believed in that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The expected numbers, I just want to see it. I just want to see hits.
Right.
I just want to see hits. But at the end of the day, like, he's doing, like, you look at the expected numbers compared to his real numbers, and you're going, okay, I get it. I understand why. And the things are going to even out. At some point, they will even out. And you're going to see the Adley Rutschman. You're going to see the balls, like, starting to drop. And, again, we see with Dylan Cruz, right, like on the Nationals side. This kid for a month has absolutely hammered balls at guys, had nothing to show for it, and they're starting to see some life there. And once you get a couple things to fall there, we're going to start seeing, for Adley, same type thing. Like, when you're hitting the ball over like 90 miles an hour consistently, guess what? You're doing a damn good thing. And he doesn't chase. There's a lot of things there that are in his positive. The Adley thing last year, if it continued over this year where he's not hitting the ball hard, I'd be worried. That would be an extreme worry.
Okay.
But we're talking about, like, from that second half, it was like 85 miles an hour, right? Like 85, 86.
Oh, I know. Yeah, right. It looked like he looked like a double-A player.
Right. And now you're seeing it, and the balls are being hammered, right? When you're consistent over that, when you can carry it for a month over 90, you're doing the right things. And at some point, things will start fall, and it's going to get, you know what I mean? Like, this is not trying to, like, defend a baseball player. There's real data right in front of you saying, like, this is going to change.
Okay. Now, what about Jackson Holiday, Kevin? Like,
we're just going right through the roster.
You're the middle infielder.
No, so here's the deal with Jackson. The whole thing is, like, what is he going to do in the minor leagues?
Oh,
what's he going to learn in the minor leagues?
I agree. I'm not suggesting that he should be down there, but and in fact, it's funny because everybody's screaming about him. He's got to be in the lineup against lefties. I'm like, he's got to start showing that he can hit righties at some point.
Yeah. Well, again, the biggest growth, the biggest challenge he's going to have is here in the big leagues more than he will ever get challenged in the minor leagues. And so, like, it is an educational process. You can't, like, he did not have anything really go wrong ever in AAA, AA, single A, and you see that. It's just now the learning process has got to be here. And he's got to make those adjustments here in the big leagues because the kid's insanely talented. Like, you just don't, you're not a 1-1 for, any particular reason. It's because you got super, talent. And you don't get rushed to the big leagues unless you're super talented. And he's super talented. And the thing that, you look at and you're like, all right, I see it. The middle infield stuff, he's starting to get better too. I think, especially at second, he's starting to get a little bit more, comfortable making the turn. You can see that. You can see the strength of arm is insane. But it's going to, like, for him, it's all about experience, and the experience is going to be in the big leagues, not in the minor leagues. And the growing pains are going to happen, but at some point, it will click. It will click. Like, those are things like it's different when you look at a young group like this too in Baltimore because they do have insane talent. Like, you see it. Like Jordan Westberg, his struggles right now. I don't worry because that kid's a baller, right? Like, it's easy to see. You see the swing, you see all the decisions, you see him hitting the ball hard. My thing is with Jordan Westberg, at some point it's going to click, and when it clicks, it's going to be like, uh-oh, here we go.
Well, from your lips to God's ears. I'll trade you a Nationals win tonight for a Caps win. I'll let the Nationals win as long as the Caps win.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah,
I knew you would be.
Yeah, I'm going to pass. I'm going to decidedly pass on that entirely.
I will always be in for a Nats win.
Here's Kevin. I think that's the interesting part, right? Like, the Orioles are 9-13, the Nationals are 10-13, but it feels to me like the vibes are very different in those two spots, and it's not just because of what happened last night. It just feels like we're starting to see sort of what we thought we were seeing in Baltimore a couple years ago. That this thing,
liftoff.
Yeah,
liftoff.
It feels like we're starting to see that with the Nationals in this moment.
Right. Well, I mean, you see what expectation does, right? Like, this is a true example. Like, you bring up the two teams, and it's like it's prime when you look at what expectation does for a fan base, for an organization, and what the guys and players have set before them, right? Like, so 2 years, going on as far as going to the playoffs. Like, don't tell me, like, everyone goes, well, they haven't won a playoff game. Like, I don't care. They've been to the playoffs twice. That's hard to do. I don't, like, it's one of those things. So that's what the national players are trying to do, and they don't have that expectation of playoffs yet. That's what 2 years ago what the Baltimore Orioles did. They created that expectation by going to the postseason and playing the Rangers and being so great, right? Like, in the whole thing. And it's hard to live up to some expectations by people. I still believe that, like, for me, the Orioles will win the East. I do believe that. they will get hot. It's just can they sustain this downturn in their season? And I do think they can. But my thing with when it comes to the Nats is you have young guys that are learning still, and they're learning together, like you saw with the Orioles, and the expectation is very low. And that's the part where I feel like there's a looseness to it, right? When you see a Nationals team versus an Orioles team right now versus a team with expectation and not living up to that in the moment. And I feel like later on this summer, you're going to start seeing it. It's going to be like, okay, I get it. I get where we're at. It's a little bit of a blip on the radar, but like for you guys especially, right? Like you guys are seeing it. You guys had an expectation for this year for the Orioles, and they're not living up to it in the moment, but they can. And that's the part that I think separates baseball than any other sport. Is it is a long year, and the first month of the season doesn't determine everything. It can hamper some things, but it will not determine everything. And they're right in the mix.
All right. I appreciate you trying to make us feel better about everything. I do. It's just,
Well, I mean, if this is July or August, man, I would have a different tone.
By the way, I do think
this is how you do it,
Kevin. I genuinely believe this is different because of how the second half of last season went. Right? Like if they're coming off the second half of 2023 and this is going on, I don't think we're feeling anything like this. It's that this is prolonged. Like this is the lethargy part of it is the part that I think is particularly prolonged, and that's I think what makes it so bloody difficult to try to figure out is like what shakes them awake, what brings life back to this group of young players. And to Drew's point, it could just be randomly one night that one at bat changes everything, and all of a sudden we're laughing in 3 weeks. Like remember how panicked we were. And
you almost thought that against like Hunter Green, right? When you go back home in the first offense.
Yeah, right. Like
you thought that was going to be the moment, but
no, we lose you, Kevin. I think we lost Kevin. We were wrapping up with him. See if there's anything he wants us to plug for him, and we'll do that. Kevin Frandsen, MLB Network Radio, MASN Nationals Analyst.
Grades are out.
Grades are for what? For your son?
No.
For
just
what?
First quarter grades.
For
J.D. Vance, A.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tom Homan, A+.
And now who's this coming from?
Marco Rubio, B+.
This is the president.
I don't know who this is.
No, you don't know.
It's somebody on the internet. Hegseth, B+.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pass on.
Well, you don't want to know the grades?
I'm good.
Pam Bondi got an F.
Oh.
I mean, you imagine if you're Pam Bondi, you're like,
yeah, right.
I got an F.
Everybody else.
What did I do?
Everybody else did really well. All right, thank you for tipping that in.
We're making America great again.
I know.
I'm not sure if you've been around.
Appreciate Kevin Frandsen joining us this morning. Buck's going to join us in just a couple of minutes.
He just said, "Don't panic." All right, that's what he said.
That's what he wants us to plug.
Yeah, I got to get going. Elon Musk, A+.
You want to say anything about Mike Patrick?
Yeah, that was a bummer, man. Like I honestly didn't realize he was that old. So when I saw the headline, I thought, oh my gosh. But I mean, 80 is older. Yeah, bummer. Just great voice. I'm so anti what it's just like MTV, right? All these great things get ruined. I'm so anti what they've done to ESPN. He harkens you back to days when ESPN was great. When ESPN was, not being sacrilegious, ESPN was the sports Bible. You got up every morning to watch ESPN to see what happened last night. And they showed you all the highlights, and they showed you who scored the goal and who had the game-winning basket. He came from he was in that era, right? He was an awesome play-by-play guy. It was a bummer.
He was incredible. Truly incredible. Just gifted at what he did.
Right.
Like wasn't flash, it was just substance.
No, he was very, very good.
Tremendous play-by-play voice.
Yep. He was very good.
Yeah, it's a massive bummer. It really is. It's a massive bummer.
I didn't realize he'd been off the air for 8 years. I didn't realize
and
that.
was kind of forced off the air.
Yeah, I didn't realize he had been off for 8 years.
It was kind of he did not.
Hadn't done a game since 17.
We called him and said, "Hey, would you want to come on and talk about retirement?" And he sort of laughed, like,
"Yeah, I'm not retired.
Yeah, I'm not. Like, I'll come on with you,
right? But I'm not retired.
I don't want to be retired,
right?"
And was kind of forced out, which you hate that thought that Mike Patrick would have ever been forced out. Safe home, Mike Patrick. Very sad news yesterday.
I have a good feeling about tonight down there in D.C.
Oh, yeah? Go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
I
let's-
do.
Let's do it. Yeah. I can't wait to hear
I
it.
just feel like
Yep. It's time. It's time. Let's get going, right?
Great weather.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that...
Cap 6.
Yeah, there we go.
Cap 6, Montreal 1.
Yeah, how are you going to turn the weather into a hockey game?
No, you know what
I
it'll be
couldn't
tonight?
figure it out.
You know what's going to happen tonight?
What?
100% you know what's going to happen
Oh,
tonight.
you're a Capitals fan, so you know it's doom and gloom tonight, right?
Suzuki scores 4 minutes into overtime.
Right.
Montreal wins 4-3.
There you go. On a cheapie, right? On a cheapie?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
No, probably not. Actually, probably be a good goal.
All right. Well, I wish you well.
All right.
And
God bless you guys.
Drew'sMorningDish.com.
Tell Buck I said hi.
I'll do that.
I
Make
like
sure.
our players.
There we go. That's Drew Forrester with us here on GCR. Appreciate him stopping by this morning. All right. Today's show also brought to you by the Brigance Brigade. We know we love the Brigance Brigade and the work they do for the fight against ALS. This Saturday, April 26th, is their annual 5.7K race and 1.57-mile fun walk. The day will be full of racing, walking, and family fun, starting with the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore, and it supports the fight against ALS. On top of the race and walk, there will also be a kids' fun run, sack races, a freeze dance competition, moon bounce, face painting, and cupcake bar, plus free zoo admission included with your registration. You can go right now to brigancebrigade.org to get registered. You can add a brunch from Jimmy's Famous Seafood to your registration for $15. Race, play, and make lasting memories together and help with the fight against ALS and just supporting those who are supporting folks with ALS and, of course, lifting up the legend himself, O.J. Brigance, brigancebrigade.org. Always a pleasure to welcome back in our next guest. Of course, we don't need to really introduce him much because when we just say the name Buck Showalter, everybody around here is very happy to hear him. Buck Showalter, it's Glenn. It's always good to talk to you, my friend. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
How are we? How's everybody there?
Well,
I just left there. I was there for Easter week with my son and his family.
Which is it's so cool to us. I remember us talking about that last year. Like, how much time do you end up spending up this way during the course of the year?
Well, we have a little. I don't say little. It's a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere that allow us to stay out of a hotel when we go up there. Got a couple of donkeys on it. My wife loves it and gets us out of Dallas. And I really like the air. It was good to us and my family, and most importantly, my son and his family lives up there. So I get up there. I'd say 4 or 5 times a year at least.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Buck. We love that. And whenever you just want to stop by the studio, let us know. Like we'll make time work. We'll just do we can make it the Buck Showalter show. In fact, if you
don't say it. Nobody's that busy. We all try to act like our lives are so busy. We're really not that busy.
I know that's.
Is Drew with you today?
No, Drew ducked out. Drew's got to go play golf somewhere.
That's what I was getting ready. Did he go to Augusta this year?
He did. He goes to Augusta every year anymore. It's wild.
Okay. I had to ask him some questions. But maybe next time.
I'm sorry, Buck. Well, yeah, we'll go try to track him down.
So what do you got? What's going on with the Orioles there?
That's the question that we had for you, Buck. That's what we're trying to figure out. Here's what I'll say, because I remember we had this conversation, you and I, last year, about the idea of a manager, throwing back. And, we want to make it feel better. Like, hey, he's pissed off. He's in there trying to, call them lollygaggers or whatever. And I never know if any of that actually means anything. But this kind of lethargy that we've seen is prolonged at this point. It dates back to the midway point of last season. Is this – what do you do with this? If you're the manager, how do you handle this?
Well, first of all, you try to be authentic. Lack of sincerity gets sniffed out in about 10 minutes in a major league locker room because you're with each other every day. I mean, traveling, there's no false pretenses. So I think you got to be yourself. I got to tell you, when you're struggling pitching, it makes a team look flat. I'll tell you that. How much is enough? You're constantly trying to score. And I think we talked about this before. One of the challenges with young teams is the weight of expectations the first time you have it. And you're not that little engine that could, and everybody's pulling for the little up-and-coming, unproven guy. And then all of a sudden, we live in a sport where if you hit 10 home runs when you're 22, you're expected to hit 15, then 20, then 25. Sometimes you don't. And the other team's pretty good too. These are the best players in the world. And you're not sneaking up on anybody, so you're getting everybody's best shot. But I used to tell people, other teams love coming to Camden Yards too. They like playing in the ballpark. So what do? You got all these equations. You go, okay, this is why this can happen. Now what do you do? And that's the riddle you have to solve. I used to call them arteries of decisions. You make a decision. It's not just that decision. It affects players. It affects even coaches and fans and what have you. I've been getting a lot of calls, Glenn, about the anniversary of the game we played with nobody in the
fans,
ballpark,
yeah.
I guess. But, it's painful to watch, but it's something every team goes through. We all seek our level, and sooner or later, there's no Cinderellas in baseball. You're going to seek your level. If you've got deficiencies, they're going to show up. It will expose them in a heartbeat. Nothing that getting a few pitchers back healthy wouldn't help.
Can I follow up on what you said there, Buck? Because I do think that's a theory that some people have, that there's almost a defeatist feeling when the pitchers aren't doing the job. That, like last night, Dean Kramer gives up 2 in the first inning, and it sinks in that with the guys in the lineup, like, oh, it's more of this. It's more of the same. It's always this. Is that real? Is that something that almost you have to play the role of a therapist to deal with when you're dealing with this?
Well, let me ask you a question. You think that's a feeling that the players get or the fans get?
I definitely think the fans get it. I don't know. Yeah.
It's funny is when we played this game with nobody in the ballpark, it showed me how much of players, some things they do are driven by the fans and being there, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But there was no thumping your chest after a home run. There was no hook 'em horns or whatever they do after a double. There was no look at me mentality because there was no walk-up music. There was no, the game lasted like 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying it reminded me how many of those things are driven by the emotions of the fans. And what we're talking about here is the players feel that among the fans is they feel, here we go again. So they get that pressing mentality, which is never good in baseball. And, they're going to see a lot of left-handed pitching. I've watched some of the stuff last night. And, they got 4 left-handed hitters in the lineup against a good left-handed pitcher. Those guys better be able to hit left-handed pitchers.
And I know Parker's
that was unusual.
And Parker's a reverse splits guy, yeah. And so I think that had something to do with it. But to the point, one of the things that I think people have been screaming about is that the guys you went out and got that were right-handed hitters weren't getting the job done against lefties. So maybe it's time to give some of your left-hand or let these guys have a shot to hit against lefties.
No, it's about the pieces. It's not always the sexy pieces, the front running. The Markakises, the Adam Jones, the Weeders, the J.J. Hardy. It's the pieces. It's the Nate McLeod. It's the Flaherty's. It's the I'm only naming guys that I know from our era.
Right.
All those support pieces. So when you have an injury, you don't lose a lot of tread. And those people have to be a certain cut of people, and the ability to pick those what if players, I call them. Your 7th starter, your 6th starter. That's very important on a club.
Buck Showalter is with us here on GCR. Buck, does it become? Is there a point where it does require? And I want to make this abundantly clear. I'm not trying to get you to say that the Orioles should fire Brandon Hyde. For people that want to clip something on the internet, I'm not going there.
Well, you won't be able to. You won't be able to.
I know that. But does there get to a point where it requires something from the outside, some sort of shakeup, some sort of I don't know what that is. Does it get to a point where?
Why is that always the manager?
Oh, I understand.
The IQ of managers changes year to year.
Right.
I know that one of the keys when we kind of turned the corner with the Orioles was when Mr. Angelo started trusting some of. We had a big 6-year free agent problem. The Yankees, we should be able to out opportunity players because we could create opportunity where the Yankees couldn't with the team they had, but yet they were getting them very important 4A tweener fourth outfielder, utility. They were getting the players we needed for depth because we paid a lot less money in AAA salaries. Just getting him to up the AAA salary was huge for us. And we were starting to acquire the players that we weren't acquiring. My point is, I think that we're always looking, but you notice we didn't fire coaches. So I would go over and speak with Mr. Angelos once a homestand, sit down and just take whatever grief I had coming. But it came from Mike Flanagan giving me that advice. He said, do something I didn't do. Go over and sit down with the owner once a homestand and take whatever grief you've got coming if you want to maintain some consistency. So this is kind of off the subject, but on the subject, everybody's wanting to fire coaches and fire managers, and I get their frustration. And then they go, well, what else can you do? You can't fire players, and God knows front offices very seldom. I mean, that's a pretty steadfast job for the most part, but because they're sitting there talking to the owner every day. But I hate to tell you this, there's not a great solution. Some people do it out of a sense of panic. Mm-hmm. So what would you do if you were sitting there as the owner or GM? What would you do?
At some point, what you just said is, unfortunately, the reality of how this game works. Right? That at some point, you say, I don't think anything is somebody's fault, but I just feel like I have to do something, or how do I justify my job at that point?
Oh, I got it. It hurts. Trust me, it hurts. I've had it. I used to joke at a banquet about the ways they tell you we're moving in another direction. We're not going to renew your contract. There's about 8 ways they talk about it without saying you're fired.
Right.
Heck, we're doing really well with the Mets, and halfway through the season, we sold off our whole club, and everybody was gone. I mean, that's just the way it goes. The shelf life of managers and head coaches. That's why the Ravens are so lucky to have John Harbaugh there. There's been a consistency and a message. So, but it's a completely different sport. If you played that few games, it'd be a little different. But I don't know. It's tough. I hope nobody loses their job. I really do. Because this guy was considered smart, or whoever it might be we're talking about, and now all of a sudden their IQ level changed. What changed? What changed? Maybe the teams got better. Maybe we didn't draft enough pitching. That's one thing. When I do look at them, they've hit on some good young players.
Right.
We'll see how that all. But the pitching part of it, I think we drafted Grayson the last year I was there.
Yep.
And when he gets healthy, he's going to be good. But after that, the draft, pitching wise,
for a couple of years they didn't try at all. Like they just didn't. They didn't.
Well, that's a theory thing. I think as much as a lot of GMs in today's world don't think it's worth the risk.
Yeah, there's too much volatility. But you can't have it both ways. It can't be too much volatility to drafting pitchers and then too much volatility to signing pitchers. Like at some point, you have to have pitchers.
But that volatility is up for debate. I have a bullpen coach who was with Dave Wallace and us in Baltimore. He's now the director of pitching with the Angels. He was charged with fixing their pitching pipeline, so to speak. They had like 87 pitchers last year in the minor league camps. You know how many Tommy John surgeries they had last year? Zero. Zero. Think about that. And someday we'll talk about how they do it differently with the development of their pitchers. It's more about they've gotten rid of some of the weighted balls and all the rubber. And when they throw in the bullpen, they just throw to strings and location, where they don't throw one pitch and go look at the spin rates. They actually use their arm and throw and make sure their legs are taking the brunt of the blow. I could talk about it for hours, but I think San Francisco's adopting it too. You're seeing a little change in some of the pitching philosophies in the minor leagues. More is actually better for pitchers in some cases.
Isn't that kind of what Earl thought? Wasn't that his philosophy?
Yeah. Well, you said it, I didn't.
I know, right? I just read John Miller's book recently, which I thought was great, and that was definitely like his philosophy: pitch him. Buck, let me ask you something, because I appreciated one thing that I really liked from Brandon Hyde is after the game on Saturday, where they rough up Hunter Green. He comes out and he says, "We need Charlie Morton to go tomorrow." Like he kind of called him out and said it publicly in a way that you don't typically hear from managers. And it didn't work. Charlie Morton didn't give him innings on Sunday, and he got roughed up again. But what did you...
But Charlie being the veteran he is, probably said, no, you know what? No, you don't think I don't know that? You know that. And I like Charlie Morton a lot. He's a professional pitcher, got a lot of ways to get you out. The the problem is you never know when at 41 years old.
It's the star fall on you thing, right?
Well, yeah, but I hope. But I wouldn't count him out. He's just got a really good baseball mind. He's got a talented hand. Now, I don't know where he is. I'm not there in his physical situation, but that one, I didn't mind it on paper. I just didn't know where he was and what he had left in the tank.
I'm worried about that, Buck. I can't lie. I'm worried about what he has left in the tank at this point. But do you think that resonated at all? Like, do you think that like they were? How does that work? Just even the idea of calling somebody out a little bit like that publicly.
You got to be, once again, the arteries of decisions. You know, you try to. I would never read anything. You know, you do that twice a day, before game, after a game. I would never read anything or listen to broadcast shows or whatever, not because I didn't like it. I just didn't help me deal with the players. That was so I would walk down there every day and I would just say, okay, what should I be ready for? What's going on? What do I need to get? I just didn't want to be blindsided by something that had happened because I was, you know, I had blinders on when it came to the baseball season. So, you know, you do think about, you know, but I did realize coming back, it was on like a 5-minute delay. The players would all be in the locker room watching the press conference live. You know, not live, but it was, you know, 5-minute delay. And I realized what a opportunity that you had to kind of talk to them sometimes in your own way and kind of set a precedent. But I don't know Brandon that well.
Right.
But I'm sure that if you do something like that, it's for a reason. And I don't know. You just, as you go down there, it takes a lot of discipline not to let your emotions reflect poorly on somebody that doesn't deserve it. I'm not talking about this case, but it was a challenge every day, and I worked hard at it.
It's not easy. I respect that. It's not easy. I wonder, Buck, if we could talk about the job of the manager, because it's something that I've always been fascinated by, how it's evolved, how it's changed.
Oh, it has.
Yeah, we heard Mike Elias last week say, "Well, I'm certainly not the one writing the lineups. That's Brandon's job." But then he immediately says afterwards, "But we're giving him a lot of data, and I'm on board." What is the job? What is the job of a manager in baseball in 2025?
It depends on the front office. It depends on the manager. It depends on a lot of things. I think there's. I had a very well established players, but this way when I first took a job, walk in and give me what he thought the lineup should be. I handed it back to him. I said, "You won't need to do this anymore." Anyway. I can only go by my surroundings. I could tell if there was something we were doing with the lineup that they didn't particularly like and they had a better way, there would be some stat show up that supports their theory, and that's good. I wanted people to come in very openly, and there might be a better way. I didn't have all the answers. I had a theory. I said, my door's not open. It's not closed. It's cracked. Come on in here, but you better bring something that helps us win, because we had a guy with the Mets that headed up the analytical department, and he told the people, he says, "Going in there, Buck's very welcoming, but he's going to ask you one question. You better be able to answer. He's going to say, how does this help us win a game? And if you can't answer that, and if you've just got some stick you're trying to create and carve out something in the game that you're known for, you're in the wrong place. Because if you've got an agenda, it's not going to fly in there. He's going to say, how does it help us win a game?"
Well, I don't always have the answer to that question. I don't.
If you or somebody, if somebody brings something in, and I want it to be a very welcoming place to come into, and I will not stand for coaches, not making everybody feel comfortable to bring what they bring. But if you bring something, you can't waste our time with something that just is very self-promoting.
Buck, when are we seeing you on TV again?
Well, I think I'm gonna do the draft and the draft combine out in Arizona for the network.
Very cool.
And that is fun. That's fun. But I'm kind of scaling back a little bit on that. Travel to New Jersey is not a whole lot of fun.
I believe it. I know it's not the sexiest part of town. I know that too.
Well, I don't mind that. Hey, but it's just I'll pick and choose, and they will too. And they're cutting back on a lot of things. Guys traveling, and the gray-haired guys aren't in demand as much.
Oh, by the way, can I ask this question because it came up? This was brought up recently, to me. Are you at peace? Like that this is it, or do you still say, hey, if somebody made a phone call, I'm listening?
Yes, I heard your answer. Yeah, yes is the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the tires kicked here and there, and I never solicit for something, especially someone who already has it. I can't stand these guys working on somebody's job behind their back. I hope these guys, all 30, make it through the year, because I know how painful it is for their families. But I don't stay up at night about it. I'm at peace. Of course I am. I'm the luckiest man in the world. But we'll see where this whole thing takes us. You never know. You never say never.
Who do you think the Ravens should draft?
Believe me, I'll be watching that real close because I know how good they are at it. And I love going, wow, who's this guy? Then the more I look at it, I love the lineman from North Dakota State.
Gray Zabel, yeah. It's funny. The Ravens had Patrick McCary, who they loved playing at like every position over the years.
Yep.
And I keep finding myself saying, like, could that just be their next Patrick McCary?
Well, I love the guys that, getting us, some of my fondest memories there was going out to practice and sitting in the end zone with Ozzie in a bench chair, watching his practice. Jim would slide by and we'd talk about, I watched Ozzie. I was such a fan of the way they drafted and still do, and you've got to do your homework behind the scenes. I think a lot of times today's scouting departments don't make that extra phone call. They don't call the guidance counselor. They don't call the homeroom teacher. They don't call the coach. I'm a big bio. When I see a bio and a guy's played baseball only, it's a big red flag for me. I want those multi-sported guys that had their nose bloodied.
It's interesting.
And have failed at something else. Mm-hmm. And because a lot of these guys, they do this travel ball. They're the best guy on the team. They've never had failure. And when they need it, like some guys do in the big leagues or AAA, they don't know how to react. Yeah. They really don't know how to react when their nose gets bloodied. And I want that guy that's played other sports and failed at other things.
That's really it's funny because Brandon's been talking about that about some of the young guys on this team right now, right? Like that they have never been in this position before, and they are struggling with how to handle failure.
Well, that's what whether it be we went through that with Manny and John Scope and a lot of the young players. Is that I used to challenge our guys that don't be kissing these. Let's go. I need some tough love now and then. Because trying to learn that at the major league level, or they'll cut you and laugh while you're bleeding. It's tough on young players. So the minor leagues, when they come through your system, you should be able to assume that they've had that inner discipline that it takes with struggles. But if they don't struggle at all in the minor leagues, it's tough. It's tough to do. They're good players. They'll seek their level. I think you'll be happy where they are by the time it's over. They've only played 23, 24 games.
It's true. That is true. Buck Showalter, we're always happy to spend time with you. Always appreciate you, my friend. Let's do it again real soon. Thank you for hopping on with us.
All right, Glenn. Appreciate it. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Buck Showalter spending time with us here on a Wednesday morning. Appreciate him doing that. And look, Buck's never going to – and what he just said is 100% true. I know this about him. You're never going to get Buck to be like, I think you might need to fire the manager. And it's not even personal about Brandon Hyde. Buck's a manager. He's never going to be the guy that says, I think the answer is firing the manager. And to an extent, he's right. And I'm really not even saying that I think anybody should be fired today. I do, in my heart of hearts, still think you guys are losing your minds and crazy today. But today, and we did what we did for Would You Rather Wednesday, more as an exercise of, like, where are you between these two things? One of these guys is around for 5 years. The other one isn't. And I agree with both Griffin and Drew. Like, right now, one of the two had to be around for 5 years. To me, it's the manager. But now you turn around and say, Glenn, one of these two guys is getting fired this year. Which one is it going to be? It's definitely going to be Brandon Hyde. It's just the way this works. I got to justify my job. And the way that I do that is I cut out the knees of the guy beneath me. I hope, beyond hope, that it turns. But I'm just struggling to see how it does. As we've said ad nauseum, Drew, I'm going to use these 3 words. Drew is right. Whew. It shook me. Drew is right. I continue to believe the offense will be better than what it's been. I agree. I believe that they will hit. I'm concerned. I'm concerned that it's not a team full of stars. That it might be more of like there's a team full of good Major League Baseball players with maybe a star or 2. But I think they'll be better than this, for sure. I don't know how the pitching improves. I don't know. Buck's not ready to write off Charlie Morton. Okay. Unfortunately, that makes one of us. I've never thought that I will acknowledge that Dean Kramer is certainly been worse than he's been on average for his career. But he's not much better than this. He's just maybe a little better than this. I just don't know how it's getting better. Zach Eflin alone does make it better, no question about it. Zach Eflin alone, if he's back in the next couple of weeks, makes it better. But in one spot. 4 other guys have to pitch. And so, if I'm concerned that it's just going to be like this, then it does sort of feel like you're kind of just going through the motions. But you can't do anything until after Memorial Day. Will it be better before Memorial Day? Probably not. Well, then why do you have to? We can do this eternally. Make a flow chart out of it. When can you fire the manager? Well, not before Memorial Day. Well, why not? Because you can't. And I don't think it's the manager's fault. But at some point, it's just the way that it works. The business says you've got to do something. Something to shake things up. Boy, I hope they win a baseball game tonight. God, I hope they win tonight. I just hope that.
What about tomorrow night? Then
There's
a lefty going tomorrow night.
For God's sakes. Oh, then forget it.
Doesn't matter what happens tonight.
It doesn't matter. It's all over. Come back in. We'll get a tidbit and two bit to wind things down. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Something big is coming to Maryland, but it's more than what you think. Because this year, it's more than a race. It's the Preakness Festival 150. And if there's one event you don't want to miss, it's the Magic of Maryland music celebration with DJ D-Nice, Club Quarantine 5 Live, BSO alongside conductor Igmar Thomas, special performances by Deborah Cox, Jadakiss, Too Short, and more. Tickets are limited. Find them and see all other events free and ticketed at PreaknessFestival.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas Combo, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious spilling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and on the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the long road back from Tommy John surgery for Orioles closer Felix Bautista, as well as Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells. Also inside, we learn more about new Maryland basketball coach Buzz Williams from the players who have played for him at other stops. Plus, evaluators around baseball chime in on Orioles top prospect Samuel Basayo. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we are winding down for a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Would You Rather 2 was, would you rather the first three picks tomorrow night be a guard, wide receiver, and tight end, or safety, corner, and defensive tackle?
The Ravens.
Yes.
I want defense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most people have gone that route.
I want. I'd like to.
It's
bold. I'd like to anchor down this secondary. That's. I want to go. Starks and a Man Warrior are my two favorites at the moment.
I don't know if I'd be good with.
I mean, if Abdul Carter falls to 27.
Right. Sure. I'd take him. There is this part of me that's like, yeah, but when you win, you're ultimately going to win with your offense, right? And like that's the way the league works.
When Kyle Hamilton is allowed to be Kyle Hamilton, they look like the best defense.
The exact opposite. The exact opposite of that was
2
true.
years ago.
When Kyle Hamilton,
it took them 11 weeks to figure out how to make it work.
What?
It took them 11 weeks.
But it took Kyle Hamilton not being Kyle Hamilton.
Right, I know.
It took Kyle Hamilton just playing safety.
And they were a good defense.
Yeah, they were a very good defense after that point. They were an extraordinarily good defense.
They were the best defense in football 2 years ago when Kyle Hamilton
Right, but it wasn't clearly just about Kyle Hamilton because Kyle Hamilton was doing that stuff to start last year, and they were an awful defense. So there were clearly other factors in that.
Okay, fine.
Like
Take Gray Zabel.
I don't know what just happened here. Like, my God, that was very strange. I'm more torn than I should be about something like this. I think the answer is supposed to be defense. Like, I think it is because that's where I think the bigger needs are. But I keep coming back to, but in the end, this is the NFL. Go get as many good offensive football players as you can possibly have and win with your offense. I struggle with that. And number 3 was, would you rather be Nico Harrison for the next 5 years or have your favorite team have Nico Harrison as their GM for the next 5 years? And you don't get to have Nico Harrison's salary. Yeah.
So would I rather be Nico Harrison?
Yes.
I'm Nico Harrison.
Yes.
I manage, right? General manager.
Universally, you're believed to be
I shipped
a
Luka
massive boob. Just an unfathomable
I
boob.
traded Luka for nothing.
Right. You didn't apparently know that Mavs fans were going to be angry about it. Like, you are universally believed to be the dumbest human being alive.
Okay. Or my favorite team has Nico Harrison.
Is at the mercy of Nico Harrison. Yeah. People are really struggling with this because I took it. This is how dumb we are. We can't just play this game. I have to say, well, you don't get to have Nico Harrison's salary because that's who we are as a people, is instead of trying to figure out the actual answer, just like, well, he makes a lot of money, so I guess I'll just be Nico Harrison. We're all mouth breathers. Every single one of us.
Well, I don't really want to do that.
We think we're so smart. We think I've solved your riddle.
I guess I become just a Ravens fan then, and I just don't really care for the Orioles anymore since Nico Harrison's general managing the Orioles.
So you would rather have Nico Harrison be your GM?
Yeah, I don't want
to.
I'm good.
Than be Nico
Harrison.
Harrison.
I don't think I need to be Nico Harrison.
Somebody would say something like, at least if you are Nico Harrison, you have the autonomy to get better. Like that's some answer that you would have. But I mean, again, I don't. If you're the guy that traded Luka Doncic, I'm not sure you are capable of getting better. I don't think that's the case.
Well, he comes back and he drafts Derek Queen and,
Right, that's going to save everything. Everything is
Turn the
salvaged in
franchise
that
around.
moment. That's a great point. Everything is forgiven. Nobody's angry any longer.
Maybe I could.
Like I try to be very meta with this conversation. Like if I am Nico Harrison,
trade for Kevin Herter,
then at least I can't screw up the teams that I care about. Like I've got that going for me. I can only screw up the team that employs me.
Yeah.
I don't have to give a rat's ass about the Mavericks.
I'm
not even a Mavericks fan.
Draft Juju in the second round. Maybe
I don't know if everybody saw. So what everybody's doing in college basketball.
Right?
Now.
Yeah.
It's objectively hilarious. Everyone who's out of eligibility is entering the transfer portal because they're thinking that the house settlement might include the thing that we've alleged for some time is going to come to college athletics, which is 5 years of eligibility. And so yesterday, Juju Reese put his name in the transfer portal, despite the fact that that's probably what it's going to be. The real issue is, what if they're right? Like, what if it does happen? And so he'll get all of these teams that have been constructed with like Rodney Rice got a promise of $3.5 million or whatever it was from USC. Your revenue sharing budget, you're already spending on the players that are available. There's probably a very small window still to try to find more NIL budget before you're not allowed to spend like that on NIL anymore, and you can only spend on revenue share like that. But it's a very small window. When the revenue share is kicking in no matter what. Whatever's going on with the house settlement, the revenue share part is kicking in. So, like, where's the money coming from? You're spending all your money to try to put a roster together. All of a sudden, the zone ends up getting flooded with hundreds more players that have an extra year of eligibility. Where are you finding the money for them? And I get it. Somebody would say, they will. That's the way that this works. And then all of a sudden, these college, the even crazier part is, like, these guys that have entered their name into the draft and said they're eligible for the draft, if they don't get drafted, they have the right to turn around and say, well, I didn't know I had the right to get a fifth year.
Right.
They then sue the NCAA over it? Oh, man, this could be hilarious. Like, utterly and completely hilarious. It seems still unlikely that it's going to end this way, with the House kind of forcing the hand of the fifth year. But a lot of, like, the labor law experts are saying that there's a bigger problem between the precedent of what the NCAA has been versus what it now clearly is. And, like, there have been people that have argued that at some point you might not be able to have eligibility rules at all. Like, you might be able to, guys might just be able to be allowed to play college basketball for forever.
PJ Ellis is coming back?
Who? Yeah.
Perry Ellis?
Perry Ellis, not PJ Ellis. Yeah, Perry Ellis. Could end up, like, that's, if you're going to have the ability to make money, if you're going to have all of that, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's wild.
When are we going to get an answer? I thought it was, like, going to be April. I guess we're not getting. When are we getting an answer on this? Like, this House versus this House versus NCAA settlement thing. We don't know.
I don't know. That's the problem.
So it could be this year. It could be never. Or
I don't know. I don't.
I thought you were Mr. I had all the answers.
I don't. I do not have all the answers.
So you want to be Nico Harrison as well, or? Or you want him to GM the Orioles?
Again, I think I would rather, as I said, I think I would rather be Nico Harrison because then I can't screw up the teams that I care about.
Okay, how about, would you rather Mike Elias be the GM of the Orioles for the rest of the season, or how about for the next 5 years, or Nico Harrison?
Well, obviously, Mike. What is that? That's terrible.
Are you sure?
Stop it.
Are you sure?
Stop. All right. Is there anything else we didn't cover today? I think we covered everything. Let's get a tidbit. Or real quick before we do that, reminder. Tomorrow night, Sports and Social, inside Live Casino and Hotel for the NFL Draft. Just hanging out, great giveaways throughout the evening. Looking forward to seeing you there with us inside Sports and Social tomorrow night for round 1 of the NFL Draft. Now, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of Press Box, which is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Great cover story from Luke Jackson, all about the hard road back from major surgery for Felix Bautista, Kyle Bradish, Tyler Wells. Go pick that up today for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Read it all at PressBoxOnline.com.
Ooh, the annual Hall of Fame game got announced.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you excited?
No.
It's going to be the Lions and the Chargers.
Okay. Next.
You don't have any?
I don't care.
What do you mean you don't
I
care?
don't remotely care. I don't care even a little bit.
It's the Hall of Fame game.
Great.
The other night, Frankie Lindor hit a couple home
I need
runs.
you to know I wouldn't care if it was the Ravens.
I think that would matter.
Sure, it would not matter
way.
even remotely,
It would
even
matter
the slightest bit.
Definitely a little bit.
Yeah, tell me who they played when they played in the Hall of Fame game.
The Bears, right?
It was it? You're telling me?
I think so, because it was what Urlacher was going in.
If you say,
and
Ray were both going in.
Yeah, I think it was the Bears.
I'll choose to believe you.
Maybe. Yeah, we're gonna say I'm right.
Sure.
And so Francisco Lindor hit 2 home runs the other night, including
You're right.
he hit 2 home runs against the Phillies on Monday. Was his 20th multi-home run game, the third most among shortstops all time. Two shortstops have more multi-home run games while playing short.
Alex Rodriguez.
He is number 1, 33 such multi-home run games as a shortstop.
Ernie Banks.
Look at that. You know your shortstops.
Oh, yeah?
And their multi-home run games. Frankie Lindor, number 3. Number 19 is also still active, or number 19. He has 19 home runs. The guy that Lindor passed 4th most by a shortstop.
Is active.
Mm-hmm. Since we're on a roll here, why not?
Wow. Seager?
Not Seager. Not sure how many he has.
Correa?
Not Correa.
Bogarts?
Not Bogarts. This guy, like Correa, has been battling a lot of injuries, but he is healthy at the moment.
It's not really probably going to help me.
Okay.
Again, I'm not. I just don't really pay attention to baseball that's not in Baltimore. Trey Turner?
Not Trey Turner.
Trying to remember if I can name other shortstops.
He's currently in the American League East.
He's currently in the AL East. God, who am I not? It's not Bo Bichette?
Not Bichette.
Volpe?
Not Volpe.
I can't even think of who Boston's shortstop is. That's the crazy part.
It is Boston's shortstop.
Is that Trevor Story?
It is Trevor Story. 19 multi-home run games for Story at shortstop. Though I wasn't even going to ask that, but since you did so good with A-Rod and Banks, I was like, might as well.
Thanks a lot.
And then I was going to go ahead and broaden my tidbit for you. Most among active players, most multi-home run games. Top 5. There are 5 guys that have had 30 multi-home run games still active.
Active players that have had 30 multi-home run games. Okay. Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge is number 2. 40 multi-home run games for Aaron Judge.
How about Stanton?
Stanton is number 3, 36.
Trout?
Trout is just outside. He's sitting at 28 at the moment.
Harper?
Also tied with Trout, sitting at 28, just outside the top 5.
Bums.
Tied for 6th, those two.
Freddie Freeman?
No, Freddie. Freddie is, he's got 20.
Manny?
Manny is number 1 among active players. 43 multi-home run games for Manuel Machado. Machado, Judge, Stanton.
Are we missing 2 more?
2 more.
McCutchen.
Not McCutchen. He's 20 as well, tied with Freddie.
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts is top 5, 30 multi-home run games for Mookie Betts. 5th most.
I'm just trying to think if there's somebody that's still active that like I'm not. Paul Goldschmidt.
Paul Goldschmidt is right behind Trout and Harper, 27.
Of course. Yuck. Who's still active that I've forgotten is active? How about Pete Alonso? He hits a lot of home runs.
Not Pete Alonso. He's sitting at 21. Just ahead of Lindor, Freeman, and McCutcheon.
Salvi.
Not Salvi. Let's see. Where's Salvi? I guess Salvi just hasn't quite hit that many. I mean, like, he's hit a lot of home runs because he's played forever.
Yeah. I guess that's true, right?
I don't think he's like even at 300 yet. I think he's like at 280 something.
Damn.
Salvador Perez.
But I mean, I think nobody's like over 400 home runs, right? Like nobody's threatening.
No, I
There's
think
nobody
Manny's the closest.
Really?
Yeah. 275 career home runs for Perez.
Seager.
Not Seager.
Altuve.
Not Altuve.
Semien.
No Semien.
Doesn't even make sense. It's not even a good guess. Vlad.
He's been off to a terrible start this year. Not Vlad.
That's a real shame for you, I guess.
Yeah, it
He
is.
must be on the team, yeah.
God. He did it a home run last night. Guess what, though? I
What?
benched him.
Smart.
I played Zach McKinstry over Marcus Semien. Semien decides to break out with a 4 RBI game.
How about one of the Matts?
There is no Matt. I'm guessing you're thinking Matt
Olsen
no,
or
no
Chapman
Matt Olsen,
or
no Chapman. Chapman outside the top 25 here, but Olsen is up there, 25 for Olsen.
Thank you.
Doesn't help you though. Yeah, I haven't given you any hints yet, unless you swim here.
Man,
he is a. I'm trying to think. Yeah, he's a
Fernando Tatis somehow.
No, he's Philadelphia Philly.
Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber, 31 multi-home run games. Machado, Judge, Stanton, Schwarber, Betts, the top 5. You named Harper, you named Trout, Goldie. Jose Ramirez rounds out the top 10 for guys that you didn't name. Shohei already has 19, so he's top 20 among active guys.
That makes sense. All right, very good. Let's get tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
Did you see Jacob Calvin Meyer sent out this? There's one constant to every game the Orioles have lost.
A lefty has started.
That's not true. That's not actually true at all. And I said that the wrong way. I'm trying to. There's one scenario that guarantees an Orioles loss.
Charlie Morton starts the game.
I guess that's probably fair too. They're 9-6 when someone plays, and 0-7 when this person does not.
They're 0-7 when this guy.
Over 500 when he plays, 0-7 when he doesn't.
So I'm guessing this meant he didn't play last night. Ramon Laureano?
You had the first name correct.
Ramon Arias.
Ramon Arias. They are 9-6.
Put him in the lineup tonight.
Right? When Ramon Arias plays. 0-7 when he doesn't. They're also 0-6 when Jorge Mateo receives a plate appearance. 9-7 when he doesn't. So,
don't put him in the lineup.
Do with that what you will. Do with that what you will. Orioles will give it another go tonight in D.C., and they've got the ace on the mound.
Tommy Sugar.
Old Tommy Sugar. Tomo Sagano and Trevor Williams, the pitching matchup tonight. 6:45 for Orioles Nationals. MASN 2 and MASN. So MASN 2, obviously, for the Orioles broadcast, MASN for the Nationals. Big Ten Women's Lacrosse Tournament is underway right now on Big Ten Network Plus. What?
They're getting MASN 1 treatment now, the Nationals are?
Well, for this series, they are. Because I think that's always the way that works for Orioles Nationals. The home team is on MASN, the road team is on MASN 2. Penn State, Johns Hopkins right now on Big Ten Network Plus. Rutgers, Maryland in the Big Ten Women's Tournament at 3. Mount St. Mary's wrapping up the regular season this afternoon against Iona on ESPN+, and Stevenson hosts Albright tonight at 7, GoMaxSports.tv. Capitals, Canadiens, Game 2 from D.C., 7 o'clock on Monumental and ESPN. ESPN also has Stars Avs, Game 3 at 9:30. Game 2 for the Oilers and Kings at 10 o'clock on TBS following AEW Dynamite. TNT and True TV for Magic Celtics Game 2 at 7. Warriors Rockets Game 2 at 9:30. NBA TV for Heat Cavs Game 2 at 7:30. MLB Network Phillies Mets 1:10. Dodgers Cubs 7. MLB TV, the free game just getting underway. Cardinals Braves and some soccer. Yeah.
Zach Moore, I think, is out at Bowie. Yeah, or Bowie played it, or the Chesapeake Bay Sox played at 11.
Okay.
Started at 11, and Trevor Rogers was starting.
Oh, that's right. He was doing that.
Gave up a hit on the first pitch of the game, and then a 440-foot home run on the second batter of the game.
Oh, God.
So thanks, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for that update, buddy. It was objectively hilarious hearing like Brandon Hyde talk about how he might need like 4 or 5 rehab starts, and I'm like, until what? And then what?
Until he can get to Norfolk.
Is that? I mean, are they rehab starts, or is it just this is where Trevor Rogers pitches? I got nothing on this, man. I got nothing on this. And it's also the problem with like doing these like lists of compiling all the injured pitchers for the Orioles, where people are like, you know, this is overwhelming what they're dealing with, and you always have to say like, right, but like they knew Bradish was hurt. That's not news. There's no world in which you can sell yourself that Trevor Rogers was the answer. You could try to do like the Tyler Wells thing, and Tyler Wells. Well, Tyler Wells got kicked out of the rotation the last time. Albert Suarez, who was also kicked out of the rotation the last time. Like, I get it. What you're saying is it would still be nice to have better options to turn to, but the only injury story that really matters is 2 guys. And one guy's only missed like a couple of starts so far. To try to make this just be a story about injuries is really only a story about Grayson Rodriguez and a couple of Zach Eflin starts. Like, that's the extent of a story about injuries. The rest of the guys are question marks as major league pitchers. Like, maybe Andrew Kittredge is relevant, but, you know, obviously hilarious in that Hoffman was the guy they turned down for Kittredge in the process. They're all, like, trying to sell yourself that what's happened to the Orioles is Chase McDermott got hurt.
Good thing they didn't go get Jordan Romano. You know,
great point.
He's been bad.
Great point. Give me some non-sports.
Big one. I know you're bummed out. It's the series finale of The Connors on ABC at 8
damn
o'clock
it.
tonight.
I just remembered that The Connors was a show.
If you didn't catch Andor last night, the season, they're playing episode 1 at 10 o'clock on ABC tonight, on TV, on television.
Seems like a weird bit.
Well, maybe people don't have Disney Plus or Hulu or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, but like, don't you want it there to get people to get Disney Plus? Is this the only?
I think so.
Are they doing?
Yeah,
is this just like
3 episodes came out last night.
But is this just like the drug dealer giving you a little?
I think so.
A tease, right? Like
taste,
try to get you hooked, and then
one bump.
Okay, that's probably what it is.
I think that's what it is. Survivor, of course, on CBS. So I don't need. I'll take as many bumps of that as we need. And another big one on Netflix here. This looks just absolutely terrible. Battle Camp, new series on Netflix. It's hosted by Taylor Lewan, so you have different Netflix reality stars competing for a whopping $250,000,
Sure.
$250,000 on the line here, and it looks like. I mean, I guess they're trying to do it on purpose, where like it looks bad.
I don't know who So who is a Netflix reality star?
So Too Hot to Handle stars.
Okay.
Love
is Blind. I think
Love
is
is
Netflix.
Blind.
Okay.
Selling Sunset. Some people from that on here.
Okay.
And they're all doing. It looks like the Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon almost. A ripoff of Survivor, obviously, and Total Drama Island though. But if it was like real people, I guess. Total Drama Island was like a cartoon on Cartoon Network.
I was not familiar with Total Drama.
It was actually very
Island.
good. It was actually very good where they had where it was like it was a cartoon and it was very good.
This
doesn't look like it could hold a cup of coffee to Total Drama Island. So we'll see. Battle Camp on Netflix. That's the big thing for today. Ben Affleck will be on Jimmy Kimmel. The other people. Danny Ricker is also on there.
Plugging Sinners, of course.
Really?
I don't know who Danny Ricker is.
Danny Ricker is apparently a writer on Kimmel, and they're pitching him as a guest for the show tonight. So
okay,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, very good. Thanks everybody.
Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft I think drops tonight. His last mock
that's a
draft
big
on
one.
NFL Network.
Yeah, have to tune in for that.
Yeah,
sure. Thanks today to Drew. Thanks to Buck. And thanks also to Kevin Frandsen. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the Say His Name and He Appears.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. On the program tomorrow, are we going to do a draft? It can be with Serpico. It can be with Ken. We just got to come up with a good punishment for it, and we got to
a draft.
We've done this before, where we just draft who the Ravens might draft.
Okay.
Like we make our picks, and whoever gets the most points ends up, or whoever has the fewest points is the loser.
All right, got it.
Like
we get what 11? We each get like 11 picks, and whoever
but we can pick other guys that might draft in other rounds.
Okay, right.
Like we get.
I can say Cam Scadaboo.
Yeah, if you want to say Cam Scadaboo, you can say Cam Scadaboo for sure. But
I can tell you want me to say Cam Scadaboo.
I don't care if you say Cam Scadaboo.
I'm not picking Cam Scadaboo.
Good, don't. I was hoping you wouldn't.
Wait, are you gonna pick?
I might pick Cam Scadaboo at some point. I got to go with guys who I've heard of. Like that's the way this has to work.
Maybe I will take Cam Scadaboo.
We've done it. Did we not do it last year?
I don't think so.
Maybe this was harkens back to when the Orioles were bad and we needed content.
Yeah.
But we used to do this a lot. A draft. Hang on a second.
Yeah, this is like the first time since I've been here that the Orioles have been bad. So
hang on a second. Glenn Clark Radio draft.
Suddenly.
Hang on a second.
So call KZ and Joe.
Yeah, see if one of them wants to do it. See, Ken's definitely done it with us before. I don't think Joe's done it before. I don't think he would know what it is. Damn, maybe it really has been that long. I'm also 41 years old, so everything feels like last year. That's the way that it works. You know what? Apparently we haven't done it since 2022.
Okay.
You're right.
All right, so I was not here. Yeah.
And we did in 2022.
So when was the last time the Orioles won a playoff game?
Was 2014. You know that.
I thought you were going to say last year.
No, they did not win a playoff game last year. In 2022, Paul Valley was the loser and had to eat, that's right, a mustard watermelon. Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't want to do
it. And Ken Zales lost in 2021 and had to do a milk and spaghetti-o pie. All right, if somebody wants to do it, we'll do a draft tomorrow.
Terrible.
It looked awful. If somebody wants to do the draft, we'll do it tomorrow. If not, then whatever. I'm good. But what are we doing tomorrow? We're doing
some stuff tomorrow.
We're
gonna go down to Bowie.
Okay.
Catch up with the Chesapeake Bay Sox. Doug Hodo is gonna join us.
Okay.
I wrote it all down somewhere. Jamon Dumas Johnson.
St. Francis
to hear his name called this weekend.
Kentucky safety, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes. And then Andre Mills.
Incoming Maryland basketball transfer Andre Mills scheduled to join us tomorrow as well. All right. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costas Inn, Brigance Brigade, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. For the love of God, go Birds. Yeah. Go Maryland Hopkins women. Duke sucks.